Oh, excuse me, I'm allergic to this bull. I mean, what? Hello and welcome to Spook Retorts. I'm Sam.
Spook Retorts. I'm Danielle.
And we're delighted this week to be joined by Danielle's emotional support co-host, Filip from Mind Duck Books Podcast.
Hey! So excited to be here. Thank you.
Welcome back, Filip. We are delighted that you didn't do one episode of Endymion or Rise of Endymion. You're like, that's enough for me. So we're glad we didn't scare you off.
I want to embrace the horror.
Well, that's what makes this episode extra spooky, is because nobody wants to hear about... No, I'm kidding. Everyone wants to hear about the Rise of Endymion.
Apparently it's popular.
I was just saying how the deeper you get into a book series, the more people are interested. So definitely all in for it. And also it's spooky because I mentioned the curse. I'm waiting for this curse to be done with.
You need another 6 months for that, I'm afraid.
Oh, no.
At this rate.
Yeah. You didn't know what you signed up for, did you?
Instead of lifting the curse, he's making it worse. Oh, no. It's just never gonna end.
So, Phil, before we get into things, I believe you have brought some excellent tidbits for us.
Yeah, I have some corrections and some tidbits. And speaking of the curse never ending.
We've never had corrections before. This is like...
We don't correct
Yeah, this is
things.
great.
Excuse me, those corrections.
This is great.
Tidbits.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to actually have some accountability in this podcast, and we've gotten away with too much.
So before we get into the correction that everybody's been waiting for, I have 2 books to mention, because we mentioned that there is more to this series than the 4 main books of the Hyperion Cantos series.
Oh, regrettably
and
true.
Speaking of the curse never being lifted, I wanted to mention I looked up a little bit more info about the 2 books that we are missing in this series, which hopefully we will also cover, right, Sam?
No promises.
Is this going to have spoilers? I don't want to hear spoilers.
No spoilers.
Okay.
It's just more high-grade nonsense.
Danielle, there's
That's
nothing that could spoil
is.
this because it doesn't make any sense.
It could if you told me what happens with the Shrike. It's the only thing I'm invested in.
Fair.
So in our previous episode, we mentioned that there is a 4.5th book after this series. It's called Orphans of the Helix, and it's only 46 pages.
Oh,
short
gosh,
story.
I know what that refers to. We're going to hear about the Spectrum Helix a lot in this section, so good luck.
Yay.
So I did a little bit of digging, and originally, apparently, Dan Simmons didn't want to do any of these Endymion books, and this was like a short story that was covering the whole story. So it says it deals with the story of the fall of Hyperion and Endymion, and it's allegorical.
What else
it's
is
an allegorical early version.
Yeah.
You mean the book right now has been literal up to this point?
Yep. So that's a thing that he just wrote the whole thing. That's the whole 2 books we are discussing right now. It was just 46 pages. So we should definitely give that a read and see how
instead of reading 1,200 pages of nonsense, I could have read 40 pages.
Yeah.
Now I'm angry.
So there are 3 short stories. One is Orphans of the Helix, then there is Remembering Siri, and The Death of a Centaur.
Didn't I say something about how it'd be dumb if there was a book all about Siri?
Well, no, Remembering Siri was the story in Hyperion. So, so it's already been covered.
Now we get to read about it in detail.
No, it's the same thing. It's the same. Is it just a republish of that story, or is it a whole new series story?
This is something that he wrote before he fleshed it out.
Okay, so that is the story.
It's the same thing, but short.
It's the same story. It's the series story from Hyperion. Yeah. It's just packaged differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you.
You don't like Siri and her...
It seemed not necessary.
Swimming in the ocean?
Dolphins.
Yeah, dolphins.
Dead dolphins.
Yeah, the island, the floating island, the living islands, all that kind of nonsense.
Nope, just dolphins.
Okay.
So this one, I think we could do 46 pages, not too bad.
Sounds like you're volunteering, Philip. Great, thank you.
Yes, 46 pages, like one day, nothing, not much. I'll read that. But the other book, that's a prequel, 0.5 in the series, called Prayers to Broken Stones.
Okay.
It's 400 pages.
No.
And from 1990.
Hardback.
And I read the synopsis, and the synopsis is just bonkers. I think this is something like made for Sam.
Uh-oh.
I think that little did you know there is a Christmas special from the Hyperion universe, which is this. It's just amazing.
I think you mentioned that. Yeah. Oh, gosh. I might have to do that.
So the synopsis...
If you do that, I'm doing the Barbarian Christmas special.
I mean, I would rather that, honestly.
The synopsis has 4 lines, each ending with ... and it gets better and better.
You want to send that to Danielle to read, as is tradition?
Okay. Let's do that.
All right, Danielle, you're going to read a synopsis. Before I get into it, you're going to read a synopsis for a book we're not going to cover today.
A woman returns from the dead with disastrous results for the family who loves her.
What? ...
An old-fashioned barbershop is the site of a medieval ritual of bloody terror. During a post-apocalyptic Christmas celebration, a messenger from the south brings tidings of great horror. From a ghostly Civil War battlefield to a combat theme park in Vietnam, from the omnipotent brain of an autistic boy to a shocking story of psychic vampires, journey into a world of fear and mystery, a chilling twilight zone of the mind.
This is made for Sam.
Is this an anthology series like the first Hyperion book where it's like a bunch of stories loosely connected?
It sounds like it, right? But I hope it's just one story mixed in together, because if it is, it's amazing. I don't know how this is connected.
Well, you've piqued my interest. But let's see if we can't survive this book first.
So this is like, more being cursed.
You're never free from the curse. You know, he wrote other books too.
Yes.
All right. So that's part 1 of your assignment. What else have you got for us, Filip?
Yeah, so the most important, everybody's been waiting for this. Yes. We got into a little bit of an argument during our last episode about Father Duray and what exactly happened to his cruciform. So we discussed that in book 4, the characters Father Duray and what's the other person?
Leonard Hoyt.
So both of those people's cruciforms.
Yeah, they're both on the one body and they keep resurrecting alternately. Yes.
And they keep resurrecting each other and they keep doing like a blood sacrifice ritual for no reason. But it doesn't make any sense. And many people had the same question online, I found. Because I and Danielle both remembered, unlike Sam, I'd like to point out.
Me. I mean, with these books, I just sort of, like, when you're reading them, you just have to, like, get into a state where I just accept what the book is telling me. I can't spend my time questioning it or I'll never finish them.
Yep. So I found exactly, I can read you exactly, or Danielle can read it.
You should read it. I think this one's for you.
Yeah.
So this is from Fall of Hyperion, the ending, chapter 34.
Okay.
This is how Father Duray dies from the Shrike. And what happens exactly. And I think it's super confirmed that he's dead.
All right, let's hear it. But Duray doesn't die because he's still alive at the end.
Excuse me, he doesn't.
No, I mean, he is. He becomes Pope. That is the end of the Fall of Hyperion. He becomes Pope.
Okay, let me just read what happens. So he says, I flinched, but did not step back as those blades lunged, sank into my chest with a pain like cold fire, like surgical lasers slicing nerves. It stepped back, holding something red and reddened further with my blood. I staggered, half expecting to see my heart in the monster's hands. ... They like to do those.
He does.
But it was not my heart. The Shrike held the cruciform I had carried on my chest. My cruciform! ... I staggered again, almost fell, touched my chest. My fingers came away coated in blood, but the wound was healing even while I was watching. I knew that the cruciform had sent tubers and filaments throughout my body, but I felt the contagion healing, the internal fibers dying and fading to the faintest hint of internal scar tissue. I still had Hoyt's cruciform, but that was different. When I died, Leonard Hoyt would rise from this reformed flesh. I would die. There would be no more duplicates of Paul Duray. The Shrike has granted me death without killing me. The thing cast the cooling cruciform into the heaps of bodies. Blah, 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 blah.
All right.
So,
yeah, I believe it.
3 times he said he died.
The only thing that makes sense... The only way this would make sense, you're absolutely right, but he definitely was... So, he became Pope, and when he died as Pope, he should have been dead for good.
Right.
Unless... he had another cruciform put on him by force. My God.
So does that happen?
I don't know.
I don't think it does.
Why would it?
So I looked into why this happened, and many people were angry about this plot hole and what this means. Because in book 4, they literally say he's got 2 cruciforms again, which clearly here, one of them was thrown away. The official answer, because they asked the writer himself, and he answered about this.
He's like, I forgot, don't worry about it.
Which is basically true, but the official answer was that it's all framed, and we are all being super framed, like we already discussed, and the narrator is unreliable, and he doesn't understand the events truly, so he's making mistakes as he's telling the story, and it's the lamest cop-out I've ever heard of.
Cop out.
It's the lamest cop-out I've ever heard of. And
He forgot.
The narrator is unreliable. And by narrator, I mean author. I mean, dang it.
Exactly. So this is also what I wanted to mention. It's basically the writer himself already.
Yeah.
How I mentioned our predictions. He's already himself telling the story himself in the story, and now excusing himself for not understanding his own story truly and correctly, and that's why this doesn't make sense. The biggest nonsense I've ever heard of. So angry about this explanation.
He forgot, and he no longer had an editor, as we've established at this point, and so the editor also did not notice.
Yeah. I mean, as you'll see from this section, there's a vast difference between the original Hyperion books and these ones, with the amount of text I just skip completely telling you about. Like in the previous one, I'd select the, highlight the parts I want to talk about, and there'd be good chunks. But here I would just go page, like, none of this needs to be told. None of this is really relevant. This is all. So like the fact there's no editor, I think, is very true and would have definitely helped with that plot hole.
Apparently in the Endymion book, they explicitly mention that the narrator is unreliable and makes mistake because he doesn't understand what happened. Do you remember any of that?
No, because what he says, the narrator says, so Endymion is the narrator, right? He's the one in the cat box writing this all down. He says, like, every time he mentions something about, like, oh, this is what's happening, with de Soya or whoever. He's like, these are not guesses. I know these were facts, and I'll tell you about how I learned all this through some special means later. Like, I learned all these things later. So he's asserting that he has perfect knowledge about not just what happened, what was in the mind of de Soya, what was he was thinking, what Gregory, like, he's telling you, I have perfect knowledge of the universe, and I'll tell you how I got that knowledge later. And they reiterate that point in this book, in the first part of this book. I mentioned that again.
Yeah, shenanigans.
But it might be that he is just wrong, and he's assuming he has perfect knowledge. As in fact, none of this is real. He doesn't know what's going on.
This is a whole new level of
No.
Again,
we're not going to be an apologist for
I'm not
Dan
apologizing. I'm just saying
Simmons.
that could be what's happening, which is BS. Thank you.
It made me angry.
That's reasonable.
I'm really glad you did the work on that. I thought of that earlier today, and I was like, I'm not going to look that up.
I'll look it up happily. I like these things. I like to make sure I understand everything.
To be clear, I believe both of you. I was just like, you wouldn't make that big a mistake, right? But all right.
That's a big mistake.
Yeah. That, like, a lot of this is like, well, this is all like, not told very clearly. There's a lot of fuzziness to this book. There's a lot of metaphor and, poetry, so you can excuse a lot of it, but that's a real humdinger of a mistake.
It sucks even more because this moment when Paul Duray, Father Duray died, it was like an arc, like a character arc we actually cared about, right? Because it's one of the good things from these books, and it was like a nice ending, and it was all wrapped up, and it was all great, and we enjoyed that, and that's why we remembered it. And now it's all for nothing.
Well, I mean, I think the problem was it was a character arc. He's like, we can't have that in this book.
Exactly.
Back it up.
Retcon.
So it's funny that the good parts were also retconned, so they wouldn't be as nicely remembered.
Well, thank you, Philip, for explicitly pointing that out.
My pleasure.
I think we should each, by next episode, we should each come up with our own explanation for how Father Paul Duray survived the cruciform and why. Just make up our own explanation to help Mr. Simmons out. He's clearly over his head with these plots. They've gotten so complicated, he's lost grip on them. So we need to help him out and come up with, I get my explanation. Maybe Lord Duzumi, before he poisoned him, put another cruciform on Duray so he could keep killing him over and over again for funsies. That's my explanation.
Does Duray ever, actually come back?
Duray?
Is that a spoiler? Does Duray ever actually come back?
We'll talk about that, because you should remember this from your summary that you're going to be doing from the last episode.
I mean, does he come back for any length of time other than being murdered?
Oh, I have no idea. Not yet.
Okay. Because that would change my idea of why somebody put a...
You should just put the idea out anyway, and we'll see if it fits or not. Like, if Simmons doesn't care, why should we?
Yeah, my explanation was that the cruciform just crawled back on him. It's like a worm.
Well-
And they tossed it on the floor. Yeah.
Or maybe he was in the Matrix version
Oh.
thing and
None
he
of
didn't
this
really
happened.
get
It's
it
all
taken
simulation.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, he thought he did.
They do mention in this book, and again, I'm doing Mr. Simmons' work for him, how if any even small part of the cruciform remains in a person, with their new resurrection technology, that they would use that to bring a person back.
Okay, the Shrike did not mistakenly leave a little piece of cruciform on Paul Giray. The Shrike is better than
It
that.
said in that summary that there were lots of little nodules in his body. They were dying, but they were still there.
No.
He said it 3 times. It was out.
I'm going to table this discussion for now because we're going to return to it in this episode when some stuff happens that is very relevant
Okay.
to this discussion.
Okay.
So I'm going to say we'll come back to this. This is the pause because I don't want to get into too much before we get there.
Let's do that.
Now, Phil, I believe there's one more section we have for.
Yeah, that's after the recap. I have more questions.
Okay.
But I think we should do that after.
Let's do the
after
recap
the
first,
recap.
and then we'll join us for Philip's Question Corner.
Okay.
Philip's question corner. Philip's question corner.
Too many
Thank you,
questions.
Danielle. All right, a little premature, but we'll appreciate the teaser. So, Danielle.
There's a preview.
Now, Philip, you have been more diligent than we usually are by re-listening to the episode recently, I believe, as recently
Didn't help.
as yesterday. So, as Danielle gives the summary,
Do that.
please feel free to chime in and help with any tidbits that she or I may have forgotten, because I certainly haven't listened to it since.
Okay.
Okay, I remember several things, but I don't remember any of the order
Okay.
that any of these things happen in.
Do your best, do your best, do your best.
So I know that their time's wrapping up on the Architect planet, right? With the
Yep.
With
The
the
Architect
people.
planet, otherwise known as...
Architect planet.
No,
Earth, new Earth.
Old Earth.
Earthy.
Old
Earth, old
old
Earth.
Earth.
It's
Yeah.
Earth. It's just Earth.
One of the Earths
Like-
in the Hercules cluster.
Yeah, hey, wow, that's pretty good.
Hey! So, yeah, old Earth, they're there being architects, or what's her face is there being architect.
Remember her name?
Nia.
Yay.
And it's a couple years, right? 3 years later
years.
or something. 3 years later. So they're on the planet. They're wrapping up. What's his face dies, the architect.
The only architect
not
you know.
Andrew Lloyd Webber,
Nope, not him.
but the other guy.
Yep.
Frank
Yeah.
something. And
Philip, you want to help with that?
I don't know.
Oh, no. It's the only architect.
Frank Lloyd
There you
Wright.
go. The only architect anyone knows, which is
Oh,
unfortunate.
this guy.
Lloyd
Okay,
Wright.
okay.
Which is unfortunate. There are lots of great architects out there. We should know more of them.
Yeah, so he passes away, and then they're gonna close, like, they're whoever they are, the lions and tigers and bears, oh my situation. They're like wrapping up the trial of the architect
Yep.
part of the planet, and so they have to. What's his face needs to leave. Raul, tall rhymes with tall. Raul. It's so hard. To like leave. He's gonna go back to where the ship was, right? That they
Yeah.
dropped off the ship like 3 years
They
ago.
buried it to let it repair itself.
And then he's supposed to meet her and Abatic on some other planet.
Yeah.
that they're gonna
I
go
remember
to
this
somehow.
part. He's supposed to get the consul's ship.
Yeah, the
for
one they
Yeah.
abandoned
reasons.
in the water before they started their rafting adventure.
No.
I don't quite remember what happens with all of that, but that's that. And then
How's he
also,
going to get to the ship, Danielle?
magic. Drive away through space. Wrinkle his nose and wish really hard. Clap his heels.
Philip, you want to
Talk
help me with
about home.
this?
Was it on the raft or something?
Yeah, not a raft
Hello?
this time.
Oh, the boat? Some kind of boat?
Yeah, it's a very specific kind of a single-person watercraft.
Sure.
Is it a canoe?
Not a canoe, close.
Kayak.
Kayak.
Something.
Kayak.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I
You
meant.
can take a kayak down the river again. So, like, remember what we spent most of the last book doing? We're doing that again.
gonna do that.
Redux, baby. We're back on the river. Did you get enough river last time? No? Well, good thing.
And then meanwhile, de Soya gets re-picked. He's like living his best life on some little side planet that he's been ostracized to, but they decide they're going to bring him back to search for Ania.
10 points if either of you can name the planet.
God's Grove.
God's Grove.
No,
Because-
no, it's not God's Grove.
Because I was waiting
God's
for.
Gate.
Nope.
Heaven's Gate.
Nope.
God of something.
De Soya's-
So wait,
Yeah.
it's the something Spanish.
Yeah, something Spanish.
Something like Shane or Shan or something. But
No,
I
that's the
forget.
planet they have to meet on later with
Oh,
Ania
never
and
mind.
Raul.
Wrong again. I'll just.
There are
Stop.
so many planets, and we're going to get another one today.
Well, then I don't. I ran out
Yes.
of planets. I don't.
Something.
It's Catholic, so think
What
about
was
it.
Madre de Dios.
Yeah, Madre de Dios, that's it.
Oh my
Hey, that was so good.
god. Wow.
I got there. Shut
it was
up.
a struggle.
Philip just listened to the stupid episode.
Yeah, I don't remember names well.
So I go on. Does that matter? No.
No.
Does it amuse me? Yes.
So they're bringing him back to search for Ania. And then all the stuff we'd already talked about with Duray being brought back by... It's not helpful to any of our listeners. Go listen to the first episode if you want to know what happened.
Daniel, why even do these summaries? He's going to tell them to listen to the first episode. What's the point?
Okay, well, what's his name? Maruzame?
Lord Duzamy. Cardinal Lord Duzamy.
Yeah, anyway, Hoyt dies. The Pope has died, but it doesn't really matter because he's going to be reincarnated, and they send ships off, and it's going to take 3 weeks to get there, but what does it matter? Because by then, somebody will be reincarnated. So stupid. Hate it. Anyway,
Very
so
good.
all that's happening, and then when Hoyt dies, we find out that Duray actually is somehow magically, because it doesn't make any sense, as Philip just pointed out. Duray magically comes back, and then we find out that Lord Duzamy.
Lord Duzamy, not Lord Duzamy.
Lord Duzamy.
Not Lord Duzamy. One word.
It's one word?
Yeah, it's Lord Duzamy. I'll spell it for you.
I thought it was Lord Duzamy for sure.
It's this. Lord Duzamy.
Okay, every time I see the actual name spelled out, I'm shocked.
It's not Lord Duzamy. This is like the Golden Compass, where everyone's like Lord, whatever, Madam Coulter or
he's like some magic thing in the church. What do you want from me?
I think it's very funny. Yeah, they don't use the word Lord of the church. He's Cardinal Lord Duzamy.
I don't know. It's some future Catholic church, Sam.
You're right. It's not the real Catholic church.
For the listeners, Danielle looks exhausted. She's about to cry. You should see this picture. Please take screenshots.
This is why we don't do this with video. Spare you all this.
I also have red on, and I'm very warm because my air conditioner's off. It doesn't count. My face is very red. I am very red.
Tomato Danielle.
It's fine. It's my natural state.
This is tiring. Yeah.
So, Lord Duzamy, Lord Duzamy?
I don't know.
Lord Duzamy. You don't know.
I don't know. I settled on Lord Duzamy because that was easy for me to say.
Lord Duzamy is killing Duray every time he wakes up because he doesn't want Duray to be Pope, because apparently he's got Hoyt under his thumb, I would assume.
Yep, and he's the one who originally killed the first anti-Pope.
Yeah, Duray.
Yep.
Back in the day.
When he was Pope Tellard the First, Second, whatever it was.
Yeah, and then Hoyt comes back, and then he names himself one of the, crazy popes.
Pope Urban.
The one that did all the bad Christian crusade stuff.
Yeah, crusades. That's what I was looking for.
No, I was getting there. That's all I remember.
I think we skipped all the Nemes, Nemes running around the place.
She comes back. They find her under a rock.
Thank you, Philip. She's all like,
I'm back to fight. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's been 3 years. So that, no. And she's got twins. She's got 2 buddies. 3 buddies.
There you go.
Triplets.
Yep.
So they're trying to get Raul, and then the Shrike appears and kills them for no reason, right? Or something like that?
No. The Shrike doesn't appear in that episode at all.
I found it appeared. What?
No.
I just listened.
What? No. What? Shrike?
That makes me feel better.
Oh my god.
No, they go off and meet Albedo Council Albedo on an asteroid or a planet one of the labyrinth planets filled with human bodies. And he's like, you gotta go find Raul. Or you gotta go find Ania.
Right.
She's coming back.
And then at the end, they decide that they're going to pretend, or they're going to fight against the Ousters, right? They're doing a fake war again or something.
Pope Urban, the Pope,
with his crusades,
declares a crusade on the Ousters, and they have brought de Soya back for that crusade.
Right, but de Soya is on the fence.
No, he's going. He's been ordered to. He doesn't have a choice.
Right, but he doesn't really necessarily believe in all of it.
Yes. And how are they going to execute this crusade? What new...
They have their new ship, the same ship name as before, the Raphael or something.
There you go. Not the Leonardo. Or the Donatello.
My non-Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ship.
Yeah, the Raphael is one of
the
bunch of these new Gideon Drive-based ships that are going to go and strike past the Great Wall of Defense into the Ouster home worlds and just, wreck shop is the idea.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes.
No.
What happened to Raul?
No idea. Literally no recollection whatsoever. Don't care.
Philip, do you have any? I mean, he was the cliffhanger at the end of the last episode.
but Raul is telling the story in this one, right?
Yeah.
He's writing the...
Yeah.
And, okay, I don't know.
All right. So remember,
I'll give up.
Nia had the conversation with the architect apprentices and said, hey, guess what? You're all going to take the forecaster portals back to the pact and start spreading the word. And they're going to kill you if they find you. But, oh, well, you got to take that risk or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, but Raul, you're going to go find the ship and you're going to go to the River Tethys. And I'm going to send you on this kayak and you're leaving right now down the Mississippi. So away he goes. Right?
Okay.
Remember any of that? And where he goes through the first forecaster portal, ends up on Lucis. He goes to Lucis. Then he goes through the portal from Lucis. He's like, I don't have any like money, so I can't stop. And he ends up on another planet that is my favorite planet that we never spend any time at.
Pet Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe planet, the goth planet, the Edgar Allan Poe themed planet. And we just breezed right through that planet, and I'm like, why?
Oh, I remember that, yeah. Nobody were upset about it.
And he ends up on another planet with a name that I will get to. It's a desert world because every time that he has to go to, like, he has a hospital need or is injured, it's on a desert world, whether it's Hebron or in this case, it's another planet with a name that I will get to because I don't remember what it is. It's like 50 words long. It's like something gray, Balianus B or whatever.
So he was injured?
No. Well, so he has to stop for water. And he gets out and he goes to an artesian well. And he's getting water from the well when suddenly he doubles over in pain. And some of the locals come up to him like, hey, buddy, you okay? He's like, I'm in pain. That's how he ended.
Oh my God.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, Philip? You just listened to it. I listened to it a month ago.
It's so difficult to remember this. I am so mesmerized by how elusive this story is.
This story is like putting your brain in like one of those wind chambers where you see like, you know, a wind tunnel, see, like, it just flows over it in smooth curves around your brain. It's impossible to latch onto this story.
Like, I've never had this issue with books. Like, I guess this is the first I don't read it and I talk about it so much, but still, like, I am trying to grasp some kind of overarching plot line.
No.
And I keep failing.
It's Hyperion.
There is not one plot line. There's like 7 plot lines.
It's the curse of Hyperion.
And some of them are important. Some of them are not.
So much going on all over the place with no reason. Like that's my question corner is basically, what does anybody want anymore? And I think it's going to be pretty short. Because the answer is no answers.
I think this is a great segue. Let's get into Philip's question corner.
Philip's question corner. Philip's question corner.
Thank you, Danielle. Oh, okay. We've expanded the theme song. I like it. Get a whole band in this.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
I will remember that later.
No, you won't. You're going to be like the Lisa saxophone solo in The Simpsons Open. It's going to be different every time.
So as you know, I've been asking questions. I have a long list of them, and I cut them short last episode because I didn't want to spend hours doing this. But next segment of my question list is, what does anybody want? Like, I just trying to make sense in my head. Who is where and what do they want?
That is a very good question.
So, for example, the Ousters, did they ever make an appearance in the Endymion book?
No.
Right? They what? Why? Where are they? Okay, so now they're here somehow, maybe.
Well, they've always been here. I mean, to be fair, they did make an appearance in the Endymion book indirectly, in that one of the planets that the Raphael original flavor went to was one of the, like, they went to this planet looking for Enia, but it was in an Ouster-controlled area, and the ship was attacked and automatically left and returned back to Patcham. And that's when one of de Soya's Swiss guards was killed during that incursion, supposedly, although probably they were actually murdered. And that's when he got Nemes or Nemi onto his crew. Was that?
Okay.
So they were there, but we never actually like had any interaction with them besides like.
So they did something in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
So in book 2, they wanted to fight the Technocore. Is that correct?
Maybe.
They were against the Technocore?
So again,
maybe
they asked the consul. They're trying to get the consul to do something with the Shrike and the Time Tombs to open them, release something like that. What their ultimate goal is, they think the Technocore is evil and they're fighting against that. They don't want the hegemony, but this is all sort of the consul's perspective on what's going on. He doesn't really care because he just wants revenge against the hegemony. So
that's just like a background force. They want something.
Yeah.
As far as Enia is concerned, like everybody's out to get Enia.
Yep.
The Ousters, we don't know what they want with Enia.
We don't know if they want Enia at all yet. We don't even know if they're aware of it.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So then, there is the Roman Catholic Church, a.k.a. Pax Military, a.k.a. the theocracy. Isn't it the same thing now? I'm so confused.
So, we're going to get into it a bit here. I've been skipping over a lot of these, like, political
I thought
distinctions.
they formed the military. I thought the Roman Catholic
the
Church formed
church
Pax.
is the body. The Pax is the civil authority of the church.
But they are together.
The church controls the Pax, but it is like, but in the same way that the Pax fleet is different than the Pax civil authority, which is different than the Pax mercantilis, which is the mercantile body. There's the Opus Dei and the Office of the Inquisition,
but let me rephrase
and
it.
all
together.
these different factions under the church.
They want the same thing. They're together.
They're not, because we're going to find in this book that like the Opus Dei and the Pax Mercantilis are working against they're trying to undercut the church in ways. It's a whole thing. There's a lot of political machinations and power plays going on.
Okay, so they want
something
to get Unia.
Yep.
Because that's a good thing to do.
She's the devil child.
She's going to destroy the church's power, basically, is what she's foretold to be. She's going to somehow, her being a new Messiah will undermine the church. And which is not, you can see how that would be. If you find a new Messiah, what do you need the old one for? Brand new model.
This part I kind of get.
Sure.
So the Technocore also wants to get Unia because potentially they can be destroyed by Unia or something like that.
Well, something. The Technocore necessarily not destroyed by Unia, but there's some. They have their own. Remember they have their three factions which all want different things.
They had a plan to kind of like make something like Unia, but it failed, and now it's.
Boy, we'll get into that. So hold on, hold your horses.
Okay, they will come up. So kind of know what these people want. So 2 last questions. Where is Martin Silenus and where is Keats?
Which Keats? Which Keats?
Yeah,
you gotta be more specific.
Exactly. There's a like scary lack of Keats in these books.
Okay, so Martin Silenus is still on Hyperion in the city of Endymion, which is run down and ruined in his old tower.
And
probably.
we don't know about him. Like he's just there doing whatever.
After he sent Endymion on his quest, he is no longer. He exits stage right, pursued by bear. Sorry, that's an old Winter's Tale joke.
Because that was what I asked about previously. Like, he is mentioned that he is alive, so but we will never use him and talk about him.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see if it comes back.
Okay, maybe.
And as for the Keats, that's a mystery. So remember, the Keats hybrid...
Yeah, that's exactly my question.
That was Ania's father, was killed by Uman.
That's one.
Was killed by Uman. He's dead. Killed by Uman.
And then he got loaded in the ship.
No, that's like, another Keats. That's the other Keats one.
Never mind. That
was the Keats who was... Severn Keats, the one who was trying to be Severn. He's the one who got uploaded to the ship, and where he went is a big mystery.
Because that guy seems like God now. He can do anything and see anything and do everything, and he can like transform space and time and
he understands the Voyage Vines, I guess.
Exactly. So he's just having a blast with the bears and tigers.
He and the console disappeared somewhere, and that's a big mystery. That's why the ship came back without him.
That we don't know officially, so that's something we might learn later.
Maybe. Who knows?
Is the console dead?
I don't know. No one's ever really dead in this book, apparently, even when they die the true death, as we've learned.
Believe it or not, that answered my question. So, last one. Nemes is with whom?
Nemi? She's an agent of the core.
Okay, Technocore.
Yep.
Okay, that's good enough for me. I
/
know who's
church.
with whom, what do they want, kind of. So I'm set on something. Because we always get into all these side plots.
Yep.
And I completely lose track of anything that's going on, like...
Oh, yeah.
The motivations. Like, I don't know why anybody's doing anything. Like, it's just like, what do you want?
I can't describe to you how much I am skipping of, like, political machination, like, people thinking through all, like, there's going to be parts of like, oh, this guy is thinking like, oh, if they found out that I got the information this way, they're going to excommunicate and kill me. But I'm trying to get this information this way so I can, like, we don't need any of that. So it is very much that people sitting there like talking about what could be happening, but never saying like what their actual thoughts are. It's crazy.
Okay. Yeah. So with that, I'll stop asking.
All right. Well, thank you, Filip, for your question corner. I don't know if that answers your questions, but they certainly are very good questions.
I feel better.
Okay, well, that's what really matters. All right, so gird your loins, ladies and gentlemen, as we enter part 2 of The Rise of Endymion from 1997 by the one, the only, the unimpeachable Dan Simmons.
Yay!
We got a mixed reaction from the crowd here. Let's see how he handles that. All right. So we open with the Grand Inquisitor, John Domenico Cardinal Mustafa. Remember that name?
But to write this down, I already forget.
Don't even bother. I call him the Inquisitor from here on out.
He's got like a thing. He's got like a whole page he's putting stuff down on with notes and questions and names.
You're doing more work than I am. I didn't write his name down more than one. I'm like, I'm not writing that again.
I am failing this college class, and Philip's is like,
I'm hoping by the skin of my teeth by all these names and characters.
So he has been ordered to a meeting with the Pope. As he walks into the Vatican, he notes that there's a new class of soldier called the Noble Guard. He goes into the history of the Noble Guard here, which used to be where nobility could get like their token kids like have like, you know, honors by doing guard work as nobility. I'm not going to get into it. The point is now they're all clones. They're clones. They're clone people. Prototypes of a secret legion requested by the Pope for his crusade and designed by the Technocore. So will this become relevant later? I don't know, but here we are. The Inquisitor is joined by Roduzimi, not Lord Duzimi, but Lord Duzimi.
I got it.
As they both make their way to meet the Pope. The Pope tells them that the first task force of the crusade, the task force with de Soya as a part of it, is underway, and soon he will retire to the papal asteroid, which is awesome, to meditate for several days and compose a new encyclical called Redemptor Hominis.
What?
So, yay.
Okay.
This encyclical will define the commandment that human beings must remain in their current form with no deliberate mutations, a la the Ousters, and lay the blueprint for the church's role in defining the future for the next 1,000 years. Basically, the church wants to become more active in the day-to-day lives of people, as opposed to the Pax, which has been the civil authority, which has been more involved in the day-to-day lives of people, not the church. So, to get back to your point, Philip, not the same thing, unfortunately. It is a complicated, interconnected web of competing power structures and organizations that we are only learning about now.
In the last book.
Well, the first third of the last book. So, the Inquisitor is somehow shocked by all of this pronouncement. I don't understand why. He also says that this encyclical will deal with the growing problem of usury, perhaps as a way to undermine the otherwise free markets and power of the Pax Mercantilis and the Pax Civil Authority. So, big old political power plays going on in the church. That's what we come to Hyperion for. We come to Hyperion for the deep political lore, right?
Yes, that's why I tune in.
Come on next week, kids, for Little Orphan Annie and the Pax Mercantilis. No. Then the Pope has Lord Duzimi share that the Shrike has appeared on Mars.
On Mars?
Mars. The one and only.
What?
Do they have a camera on Mars? What are they doing?
Excuse me?
People live on Mars?
Yeah, the people live on Mars. There's a whole colony there and everything. That's where Mars is where the Olympus Command Center was, the original military headquarters of the Hegemony Fleet, the Force Command.
So does the Shrike appear like inside of the place where there's air?
Inside
or
a city,
like
yeah.
Outside in the lands. He's
in
like,
a city,
I'm out here.
He slaughters a bunch of people. It was a slaughter fest. What the Shrike does. He does.
Of course.
And I think this begs the question that only David Bowie can answer. Is there Shrike on Mars? Thank you. I just thought of that. All right. Now that song's in your head. Moving on. I apologize. So the Shrike appeared on Mars and slaughtered like hundreds of people, maybe thousands.
No, he had a party.
He had a party,
Shrike,
right?
Dropped some beats.
Dropped some sick beats. People partied themselves to death. And they partied so hard that their cruciforms were even ripped out of their bodies and destroyed. And so they have died the true death, apparently. So the Shrike...
How do you destroy
the
a
Shrike
cruciform?
does know how to take cruciforms 100%. Off. This is what we just established.
This is what I was going to get to, Philip, is the Shrike absolutely does know how to do this.
Yeah, but he always takes them off. He doesn't, destroy them. Like, in the first book, I think that they reused them. He took them out and he reused them. So.
I don't know about that, but we're getting back... We'll get more into this later. There's a whole section about them on Mars and talking about the cruciform. So
hold off.
But we want to know now.
Well, welcome to this book series where everything is, chopped up and spread out through, 17 different chapters. The Pope commands the Inquisitor to go personally to Mars with a contingent to subdue and or kill the creature. The Inquisitor thinks, quote, "My mother taught me to never trust anyone who uses the expression and or." I don't know why. Why is that? Why? Yeah. Danielle, can you explain to me why people use the expression and or untrustworthy?
No.
What?
Okay, well.
What is this? What does this even mean?
Nothing.
You can't use and or in any sentence, and if you do it, what?
And/or,
yeah.
you mean?
Yeah, and slash or. I guess it could be you are waffling, not decisive, because you're picking and or. But it's just...
But sometimes it's relevant. Sometimes that is the correct thing to do.
If anything, it's more precise.
Well, it's also just a quick way to explain the difference between an exclusive or and an inclusive or.
Yeah, if
Exactly.
anything, you're more trustworthy because you're being more specific.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I'm on Philip's side.
yeah, I don't know why that sentence was in the book, which is why I brought it to you to have this little powwow here.
So we
Just
See if
to
we
upset
figure
us
it out.
more.
can argue about it.
Yeah. So this is the kind of stuff that Simmons drops in these books. He's like, oh yeah, obviously, never trust anyone who uses the phrase and or. Cool. What? Anyway, the Inquisitor is very upset that he's going to be like out of the system, out of touch, where he can't do all his little machinations. He's basically felt that he's been like intentionally sidelined, maybe even going to be killed out there as a way to remove him from his power play. But he has no choice, so off he goes. Meanwhile, de Soya and the task force are engaging in some war games as a warm-up for their invasion into Ouster space. There's a lot of pages of him explaining the weapons that they have on the ships, and it's fine. We can get past that.
Did you enjoy it? Was it like creatively fun or just confusing nonsense?
It's not confusing nonsense. It's just like, you know, it's a better way of describing their armaments than just him listing like they have 16 kinetic missiles and 17 death beams or whatever.
I like my sci-fi technobabble weaponry, so I'm slightly interested.
It was fine, but basically he's like, you know, they have these death beams, they have the particle beam from the previous book, and they have these hyperkinetic missiles that use Hawking drops where they can teleport basically to the ships at faster than light speed and then blow up. So it's like, you know, very deadly. They're all super deadly, and they're going to absolutely annihilate the Ousters who have no chance against this amazing technology.
As far as I know.
Yes.
They don't seem to know much about the Ousters, so that seems like a big bid.
Well, this is why they're doing an exploratory task force to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
After the games, de Soya finally goes to talk to Sergeant Gregorius for the first time since he rejoined the crew. And remember Sergeant Gregorius, our favorite Swiss guard? No?
He was with him, right?
Yeah, he was the main one.
Yeah, one of the ones that didn't die forever.
Yep. So first, though, de Soya decides to look up Gregorius' first name. But apparently, and I love this.
John.
Nope. Gregorius doesn't have a first name. He's like Cher of the Swiss guards. Apparently, on Gregorius' homeworld, the people are given 8 names. 7 of them are weakness names. And they can only get rid of each of the weakness names one at a time by completing the 7 trials.
Oh my god.
And apparently like 1 in 3,000 people or whatever can complete all 7 trials, and some of them just stop at like 3 or 4. And Gregorius is one of the few people who completed all 7 trials. What are the 7 trials? We don't get to know. That's apparently a well-kept secret.
That's unfortunate, because that sounds way more interesting.
This is my problem with this book. Is there are all these asides we'll get into in this section especially where like that sounds like a Conan the Barbarian planet where like they have to do the 7 trials a year. Like that's cool. Like Dan Simmons has such good ideas, but he never like focuses on the ones you want him to. He always talks about things you don't care about. He spends so much time on like philosophy that's kind of, you know, middling, and poetry that's very, you know, and not like the cool barbarian plan of the 7 trials and Sergeant Gregorius who's a badass.
I swear to God, this has to be some kind of like inferiority complex where he has this idea and he would like to expand on it, and he says to himself, "Oh, that would be fun. That would be really good to flesh it all out, but that's beyond me. That's under my standard. I'm gonna do something more challenging." And then he just skips that idea and does something that he doesn't fully understand to challenge himself, and that's what he focuses on. That's what it feels like to me.
I'm gonna shout out a comment we got on one of our episodes from a listener who said that they think this is like Dan Simmons' personal RPG, like D&D session. This is just him like fleshing out like all the D&D, like as they go to his D&D system. I'm like, you know, that makes a lot of sense. I think that was an excellent observation by that person. I apologize I don't have their name in front of me right now, but, you know, shout out to that person for having insight that I don't on Dan Simmons. So anyway, that's really cool. We never hear anything more about that. So Gregorius is very happy to see de Soya. They catch up on what they've been up to, blah, 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 blah. And eventually their conversation leads to Gregorius, and he says that he has a bad feeling and that de Soya needs to watch his back. So, dun, dun, dun.
Well, that seemed like a given.
Yeah, but Gregorius wanted to make that extra clear. Back in Patcham, the CEO of the Mercantilis, Kenzo Isozaki, is looking to head out to a clandestine meeting. To do so, he buys an unregistered asteroid mining ship and heads out to meet a secret contact in an abandoned asteroid field. He arrives a little early. He scans around, he sees no life signs, no ships, nothing, and settles down to wait. But suddenly, there's a knock on his airlock door from the outside. Dun, dun, dun!
What could it be? Is it the Shrike?
No, I wish. The Shrike would not knock, I think, Danielle. He would simply drop some beats and kick down the door.
You don't know what the Shrike's like in his personal life.
I think he would drop some beats and kick down the door. I think that's obvious. It's not Niminu either, unfortunately.
If the Shrike was outside the door, would you just hear this like deep thumping bass and you're like, I wonder what that could be?
Yeah, that's
How
like
about a Schrödinger coffin that just bumped into the ship.
That'd be, if that was Raul who bumped into him, that'd be really funny. No.
Is it a Nia?
No, I do like the idea though that the Shrike has like a rattlesnake. He uses his thumping bass to warn away potential predators.
He's coming.
The Shrike's coming, guys. Clear
You
out.
just hear it like cruising past Mars. You're like,
That's how we got there. That's really good.
like a distant neighbor.
Like a distant neighbor. The Shrike is there. It's a different insurance company, I guess. All right. So we cut to Raul, who is writhing in pain in the bed of the people who helped him after he collapsed. There's a woman watching him who tells him they requested help from the local PAX doctors, who are busy with some other exercises right now, but one should be there by the next day. Raul tries to refuse the PAX doctor, like, no PAX doctor. And the woman's like, that's all we got, buddy. There's no more medics here in town. The town is called Child Loch Lomond. It's
Sure.
child with an E.
Okay.
So, chilled Loch
Not
Lomond.
like a child lock.
No. It's, I don't know. It's not spelled lock like Loch Ness, but it is lock like the other. I don't understand. Doesn't matter. When he has a moment alone, Raul tries to ask the Comlog bracelet with the ship's AI in it if it can diagnose him, like, why am I in so much pain? And the best the bracelet comes up with is like, your symptoms are consistent with appendicitis, but all humans have had their appendixi, gene tailored out of them, centuries ago. So he doesn't have an appendix anymore. And so that doesn't help.
I'm the person of the future. You're welcome.
You don't need an appendix or a gallbladder.
Gallbladders are kind of important. I would prefer to still have mine.
Well, Danielle, then you're not a person of the future. I'm sorry.
That's not true. I don't have any wisdom teeth, and I don't have an appendix. That is the future.
I have wisdom teeth, so I'm home the guard here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any either.
Like, you got them removed, or they just never came in?
I got them removed.
I just don't have them.
Well,
they don't exist.
I'd rather have more teeth to bite people with.
Then your mouth isn't big enough. That's the whole problem with wisdom teeth.
Danielle, my mouth is very big. Thank you. I think everyone I've ever met has told
You're right,
me so.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
What was I thinking?
That's right. So Raul settles into wait, and he learns there's actually 2 women in the house, 1 man and 2 children, an adolescent girl and a young boy. Soon enough, the PAX doctor comes in and immediately assumes that Raul is one of several spacers who a few days ago jumped ship, and only one of them survived running away. So she immediately diagnoses Raul with, guess what he's got? Guess what condition he has?
Base illness.
No, dumber.
That thing you get when you dive too quickly.
The bends?
Yeah.
No.
It's like some kind of gravitational something.
Guys, you're being way too smart. It's a kidney stone. It's all kidney stone. Now again,
let me look up if Dan Simmons had a kidney stone.
let me tell you, kidney stones I'm sure suck, but we're going to spend the next 3 chapters with Raul and his kidney stone, so buckle in. I hope you wanted a detailed exploration of what a man goes through with a kidney stone, because we're about to get that.
I've heard they hurt.
They hurt. I do not envy him. I just think it's very funny that, let's stop the plot for a kidney stone.
I mean, that feels true to men. No offense to
100%. It's very true. I just find it very funny. So the doctor, she diagnoses him with a kidney stone and drugs him up with ultramorphine because, yay, ultramorphine.
Is he going to get addicted?
No.
It's this is the beginning of the end for Raul.
I'm sure they also have ultramethadone, I'm sure. So the doctor then starts to interrogate him, and Raul realizes she slipped in some truth tell into the morphine. So, he has to spill his guts. He tells her his name, how he came through the Farcasters on a kayak from old Earth. The doctor's like, this guy is deranged. He is mentally unbalanced.
This truth serum is definitely not telling me the truth.
This gets to the whole thing. I have issues with truth drugs because if he believes it to be true, then it's the truth to him. So
right.
So I mean, she's like, okay, this is what he thinks is true, but he is clearly cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So she leaves them and tells the others who are there, the other people in the household and the guard and the priest that came with her, that they're going to finish up their exercises. They'll come collect Raul when they're done, but just keep an eye on him and keep him drugged up until then, and we'll get him later, basically.
Is Ania not well known to the packs in general?
Well, no, and not to the, again, this is sort of a secret mission because they don't want word of her spreading, I think. I think they don't want people knowing about her.
Okay. I guess we'll accept that.
I don't know. It's my assumption. So Raul slips into a drug-induced slumber. So get ready for a bunch of dreams. Here we go.
Oh my god, no.
Are they relevant to anything? Are these
Are
like
they written
dreams?
in poetry?
Nope. Are they relevant? They're not poetry.
Is Uman in there?
Yes.
What, Uman is there?
Uman does come up. And I did not quote him because screw that.
I'm gonna look this up for next episode and read that.
He comes up and Ania quotes what Uman said. So
Yeah, that's
it's
the part I'm
nothing
gonna
new.
read.
Nothing
That's
new.
the part I'm gonna read.
Nothing new. Sorry. But are they relevant insofar as this is the exposition dump where Dan Simmons is trying to explain the philosophy of this book more. So here we go.
Cool.
So Raul is dreaming. He's talking with Ania back on old Earth. They were discussing the packs, and every time Raul had he said like the packs are terrible because of this reason, she'd be like, no, and counter it with some other reason. And she's basically trying to like draw a distinction between the packs as a whole entity and the elements of the packs that are after them. Like saying you can't say all the packs are bad. There are elements of the packs that are bad. You have to distinguish, the country from the people or whatever, and that kind of idea. So fine, whatever. She also implies that there may be others giving orders to the packs other than the Vatican, and that from their perspective, they're right to try and capture and kill her because she's a danger to them by what she can do through teaching. She accepts their characterization of her as a virus to the church. So, moral relativism, I don't want to die, obviously, but the church, from their perspective, they're doing the right thing. Everyone thinks they're the good person in their own story. They're the hero of their own story, basically. That kind of idea.
You look confused, Philip.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. Trying to think of stuff, but failed.
I gotcha. Don't worry about it. It is okay. It's just your basic philosophy 101 stuff about moral relativism. Anyway, Raul continues to drift in and out of his drug-induced stupor for a few days, waking only to limp to the bathroom and urinate through a filter to see if he can catch the stone. And is that what you do? Do you actually
What does it matter?
Yeah, why do you want to catch the stone? Hey, look what I got! You hold it up like you're like a guy who takes caught a fish. You're like, look what I got! Like.
It feels like you would know once you pass the stone.
You would know, so why
you would feel better.
Yeah, why do you need to catch it in a strainer and be like, look, I passed this up. We believe you. We don't need the proof.
What? Sounds like a completely nonsensical idea.
I never had a kidney stone, so maybe this is something they actually do. Maybe they need to collect this stone to test it for cells or blood or to make sure.
I thought passing a kidney stone meant it dissolves.
No, it comes out of you. It's not dissolved.
I thought that the point is that you can't pee it out, so then it has to be dissolved, and that's how you pass the stone.
No, you pee it out. It just hurts like heck. And if the stone can't be peed out, and they mention this in the book here, they'll have to take him in for surgery, or you can also use, in our world, they use ultrasonic waves sometimes to ultrasound to try to break up the stones in your tract.
That's what I thought is the only way to get rid of it. I didn't know you could get it out like that.
Oh, no, they don't dissolve. That's the whole problem. If they dissolve, they wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. I meant with the ultrasound or some other means.
No,
not on its own.
You try to pass it on your own, and apparently it hurts very badly.
Yeah, of course.
And if you can't do that, then they have to do surgery and or the ultrasonic or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why you want to catch it in a filter. That's new to me.
Who knew we'd be talking about kidney stones today?
Dan Simmons.
Swear to God, this is his personal experience.
Urologists out there, write in. Tell us, is it standard practice to pee into a filter to catch your kidney stones? Inquiring minds, i.e. us, want to know.
I bet this is his way to get some personal experience to include in this book. I don't.
They do say, write what you know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He probably has had one.
Okay, so Raul then starts going into the beliefs of the local people who are known as the... Oh, boy. So Raul then starts going further into the beliefs of the local people, the Amoyet Spectrum Helix, which are named after an epic philosophical symphony hollow poem composed by Haupthull Amoyet. I don't know. That's what I'm going to say it. So,
you said nonsense words.
Yeah.
That was like 20
Exactly.
nonsense words back to
I was
back.
like, that completely switched to like nonsense words.
So they're named after an epic philosophical symphony hollow poem composed by Halpul Amoyet, who used the colors of the spectrum as metaphors for positive human values and how they interact. So everyone is like wearing different colors that represent different things, like red or blue or white or black or whatever. So there you go.
How does he know this about this population when he has gone from being ill to being questioned by a healer to being
Because this
transformed
is
and now
narrator Raul
body.
telling us this. Not
so future Raul
Yeah,
telling us about
Yeah,
this.
Remember-
it's hindsight. Yeah.
future omniscient Raul who knows everything.
So at
But
some
could
point
be
he gets to know
unreliable
the
and
people.
probably doesn't understand what he's saying.
Right, who could be unreliable. So as far as we know, he's just making this up.
Just seeing colors.
He's not really in a cat box at all.
Yeah, he lied to us. Unfortunately, the Spectrum Helix people have sort of been slowly joining the church under pressure, so looks like their religion is doomed.
That's sad.
After expositing all this in many more pages, Raul has another dream. So this chapter is basically just exposition about
Oh,
Aeneas
Lord.
philosophy, interleaved with exposition about this rando culture about the Amoyet Spectrum Helix. So
To be fair, I'm very surprised all the dreams aren't rhymed or poetry or anything like that. I was sure those would be just poetry.
I
Pure poetry
wish.
dreams.
I would love to have, like, you know how Shakespeare does, like, prose and meter at different points to do different things in the story. Like, why didn't Dan Simmons think of that? Anyway, just a
Is that
thought.
a real question?
That's like, if I was Dan Simmons' editor, I would suggest that, just for fun.
Again, he does not have an editor. We've already established this.
Yeah, I know. So this dream picks up where the other one left off, with Raul asking Aeneas how she is a virus. Instead of answering, she asks if he knows what the major flaw in Martin Salinas' Cantos is, or Uncle Martin's Cantos.
Uncle Martin's.
Yeah. She says it's twofold. First, he believed what the Technocore told her father, the other Keats, which the Corps knew would get back to Martin for the Cantos through Braun Lamia. So, like, the Corps was basically lying to Keats so the lie would spread into the Cantos.
I thought the Cantos was like coming to him from the great beyond or something.
Exactly.
Wasn't
That was
he,
that's part of it, but also part of it was what he learned from Braun.
Whoa. So he's getting like divine intervention on his Cantos, but only like 50%.
Yeah,
and the rest
basically.
of it's like, good luck out there, buddy. We're only going to give you half the answer.
The rest of it is
to
good
your
old-fashioned
Cantos.
personal experience and research.
So
That
basically,
is
what we're doing is
dumb.
that the truth that was not told by unreliable narrators is now also unreliable.
Yes. Yes. So the Technocore lied about the Keats, about the purpose of the Keats hybrid. And the second error was that the Technocore was humanity's enemy. So Aeneas insists that while the Corps had been up to no good, her words, since only elements of the Corps tried to wipe out humanity, not the whole Corps, and that the Corps stealing our neural processing for their own purposes didn't really do any damage to people, and is also parallels humanity's use of AIs and computers, like we're using their processing powers for our own ends. So it's like, oh, now the Corps is using our processing power for their own ends. There's a kind of symmetry there. She's like, again, she's not saying it's okay, but she's like, oh, there's a little ambiguity, a gray area here.
I mean, computers aren't sentient, so...
Well, I mean, yeah, so, yeah, we'll get to that. Well, we won't get to that, but that argument is brought up. And she also says that while the Corps did try to wipe out humanity and nearly did so, humanity also nearly wiped out itself several times. So, you know, are they really all that bad? I'm like, yes, just because we almost wiped ourselves out doesn't mean it's okay for someone else to do it. But she's like, you know, the Corps, the Ousters, and the Pax humans, the Gemini, they're all the different races of the same people. We all originated on Earth. We all came from the same common ancestor. We're all the same people, is what she's getting at. So
That doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
I agree.
Like, there's...
but her point is not that it's right or wrong. Her point is to try to get Raul to see moral ambiguity, because he's all like black and white, Pax evil, Corps evil, us good. She's like, well, no, parts of the Corps did bad things, not the whole Corps is not evil. It's not the Corps is humanity's enemy. It's that these elements of the Corps might be an enemy. So she's trying to introduce nuance to this rather, I don't know, blunt story.
How is he the savior of the universe?
He's not. She is.
I know, but how is he even involved?
Uncle Martin decided to make it happen.
He's apparently not being fed divine intervention on his Cantos, so
Yeah.
should he be making any decisions whatsoever?
No. To be fair, he hasn't made a single decision, really, this whole book. Or the previous book.
Except for this dude.
What?
making Raul.
Oh, no, Martin made the decision to pick Raul, yes. But I'm saying Raul hasn't made any decisions. He's made no decisions in this story.
No, he's just along
is
for the
Raul
ride.
there just to be the point of the reader, like the point of view? Why is he there? He does nothing.
He's there. Oh, boy. I'm sure we'll find out in the second half, but we're not going to like it.
Okay, that's going to be something. I'm just increasingly getting worried that he's going to be revealed to be another clone of Keats or something.
It's dumber than that, I'm sure. All right.
Okay.
So then Ania recites what Uman said to the Keats hybrid. So there's your Uman reference.
Yeah.
I won't repeat it here because I don't care. But she ends up getting to the point that the Keats hybrids weren't actually created to be the refuge for the empathy. I remember the whole story about like we made the Keats hybrid because as a poet, he was the most empathetic thing. We want the empathy to be
that thing I actually remember.
Lies, absolute nonsense, BS. That's not the right answer.
It was
It's like retconning his own stuff.
Yep.
It's like a needle in the haystack that made sense. Like,
Nope.
that part made sense.
Nope.
Why
No.
do you dismiss it?
This is what it means. It's so good. I'm excited for this.
Oh, no.
The AI made the Keats hybrids to, quote, be the instrument of that fusion between the core and humankind. To have a child, in other words.
What? Why?
So maybe Keats is like their baby?
No, they made Keats to make the baby that is a part AI, part human. Guess who that baby is, everybody?
Ania?
It's
Then,
Ania!
yeah, of course, but that's nonsense. Like, they wanted this the whole time?
Yes.
But when
So
it
why did
happened,
they
they were
create-
visibly, like, fighting against it. So,
Yes!
So what the hell?
Why did they create so many Keats for just this one thing to happen? Why didn't they just create one
That's
Keats?
still the
Because you,
my
like,
problems.
because you gotta increase your odds that one of them's gonna score, right? I mean, Severin Keats was never really close to getting laid.
How
Oh
come
my
none of the
God.
Keats had sex? There were like multiple generations of Keats.
No, there were only two Keats.
Okay, there were a lot of Keats.
There were two Keats.
What about the original Keats?
He doesn't matter. He's not a cybrid.
So the whole first two books, the Technocore is actively trying to destroy humanity, and now they're like, oh, we planned to be one with humanity the whole time, and this other part was just for fun.
So my guess, and I don't remember if this is true or not, but based on what was happening in this section is like, remember there were the three
Yeah.
sectors. Some of the core want to destroy humanity. The radicals.
Okay.
The stables didn't want to break, want to keep things going. The ultimates just want to create ultimate intelligence. So if this part of the plan is on the pathway to making the ultimate intelligence, they wouldn't care about whether it helps or hurts humanity. They just want the ultimate intelligence. So
Okay.
maybe one sector or the other did this plan while the other sector was trying to wipe out humanity. Like they're working at cross purposes. I don't know if
I'll
that's
take
true.
It sort of makes sense. I'll take it.
I don't know if that's true or not. But based on Ania,
Does it, Philip? Does it?
no.
It slightly resembles making sense. I'll take it.
See, he's being dragged in. The bar is getting lower and lower for
He's
making
just accepting
sense.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By like the fourth one of these, you're
There's
going to be like,
something I
okay,
can
whatever.
kind of make sense of. I'll take it.
I just love, Philip, how hard you are trying to have this plot make sense, only for Dan Simmons to pull the rug out from you, like, nope, none of that was actually true. All that sense you made doesn't matter.
All I'm here for is have some closure. I need closure by any means.
Oh, boy, you need that.
That's adorable. You're so cute.
I feel bad for you. I'm sorry to bring you into this.
There will be no closure.
I'm gonna make myself believe there is a closure.
Well, keep that hope alive. So the point is, Ania is the fusion of Technocore and humanity, and they wanted this the whole time, and so they're trying to kill her because reasons that I don't understand now. So remember when I said it made
But
sense
will we
earlier?
understand later?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
So then Ania says that while all humans have an imagination that quote-unquote span space and time, which is a poem quote from Uman, when she dreams, she can see things that truly will be. Remember how she remembers the future? Mm-hmm. And so she remembers how Raul is going to have this dream and this conversation while lying in bed in terrible pain. So it's all part of the vision she has in the tapestry of fate or whatever.
Does she know he's going to have kidney stones?
Yes.
She could have
well,
warned
she doesn't
him.
know it's kidney stone. She knows it's going to be painful. So Raul finally asks, tell me what your secret is. The secret that makes you this messiah, this bond between two worlds. And Ania responds, I will tell you. Listen, cut to de Soya. They're on the 5th of the 7 systems they're out to destroy. He does that every time, and I hate it.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Such a cop-out. Anyway, as I said, de Soya, they've destroyed 4 other systems are on their 5th system to destroy. It's not a war, it's a massacre. They translate into a system in staggered formation. They identify targets. They slag them from far away using these hyperkinetic missiles and Hawking missiles and death beams before the Ousters even have a chance to see them or react. And then they go in close for a mop-up.
Didn't they think they were ahead of the Ousters last time, and it turned out it was wrong?
No. It wasn't the Ousters. That was the Technocorps pretending to be the Ousters. That's
right. It's hard to remember everything, Sam.
I know. So the 7 systems, because there's always 7. There's 7 systems, 7 ships in the fleet, 777. They were given archdemon code names of Belphegor, Leviathan, Beelzebub, Satan, Asmodeus, Mammon, and Lucifer. So, yay. Cool. They're really leaning hard. Most of the systems didn't have much in the way of military targets. They are just performed wholesale slaughters of the civilian Ousters, destroying orbital forests filled with thousands of the Angel Ousters and the Shepherd asteroids and watering comets. So it's a real... Sad. This is not a good war, I would say, in the terms of if there is anything such as a good war, but you get the idea. It's a really a genocide. In Leviathan, they also found birthing asteroids, which they swept with death beams to kill everything inside.
Their favorite.
Yeah. I do love a good birthing asteroid.
Yeah.
In Asmodeus, they were ordered to take prisoners from one of the birthing asteroids. They didn't death beam. So this is going to get pretty rough here. I'm going to describe some things that are very unpleasant, so fair warning.
So there's a birthing asteroid that's got a population on it? What?
The birthing asteroids are where the Ousters have their nurseries to give birth.
So they death beam it and then take the survivors as prisoners?
So they death beamed all the other asteroids and they saved one in this particular system.
Oh, the other asteroids.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they death beamed in one system, they wiped them all out. In this system, they're saving one of the asteroids to take prisoners from it.
Okay, I get it. I thought they killed them and then they took the dead bodies as prisoners.
That'd be very...
Why are they taking prisoners?
That's a good question, Danielle.
I have lots of great questions.
You do. I have no good answers. So after this particular prisoner taking, Gregorius goes to confession with de Soya and recounts what happened. How they were ordered to take one of each type of ouster, male, female, pregnant, not pregnant, space-adapted, not space-adapted, child, adolescent, etc. So they blasted their way into the asteroid, decompressing and killing most of the people inside, while bagging and tagging the ones they needed before they died. They would then go through the asteroid, room by room, which resembled homes with kitchens and beds and cribs and nurseries. When they would enter, sometimes the mothers, sometimes they were pregnant, would still be alive and try to attack them, futilely clawing at them before they were killed. And they would kill the babies with grenades in the nurseries and make sure that there were no survivors.
Why grenades?
Yes. It's this. I mean, I'm leaving out a lot. This is very graphic.
It's just Star Wars. It's fine.
With explicit baby murder, yes.
I mean, that's kind of what Star Wars did, that one.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he did kill the... We don't see it happen, though, in Star Wars. It's only implied. Here we get the full force.
Why do you go in a kitchen full of babies and throw a grenade?
Into the nursery? I don't know why. They just really kill a baby.
You're in the kitchen as well.
Not the kitchen. I mean, they were in the nurseries. I know.
It's just like a hilarious image of what's happening.
It is. I mean, hilarious child murder. Yay.
No, I mean, why are they going in there? They could be just bombing it from space.
They could have just death beamed it after grabbing their people. But
why?
I don't know. Because then you wouldn't have this crisis of conscience for Gregorius.
Okay. How did they validate this as I would say this throughout history. How did they validate this as a church entity and killing all of these?
Because they're not humans. They're not people. They're not people.
But they are.
That's how humanity works, Danielle. I mean, this should be obvious what's happening even today, right now.
I said you could see it throughout history.
That the way you do it is you demonize and dehumanize the other people until they're not people, so people don't see them as human beings anymore. So this is the oldest playbook in humanity's ability to destroy humanity.
Yeah, gotta love it.
Also, I gotta point out that even in the future, Simmons imagines childcare as the women's work, and I find that bad. Very regressive for your future, Simmons.
So you keep saying this was pretty gruesome and concerning. Did you actually feel anything while reading this, or just whatever? I mean, I didn't it didn't impact me in the sense of Sophie's Choice or Life is Beautiful or something like that, because I didn't know any of these characters. But in the abstract sense of this is the horror, this is awful. I mean, that was in that abstract sense. Sounded like you got some emotional impact out of this. Never happened in these books for me. I mean. It was this is just gross and terrible. Not that I'm crying in my bed reading this, but
Anyway, so Simmons also can't imagine a future where the women aren't solely responsible for childcare, apparently, which is telling, I would say. Anyway, this absolute genocide is clearly having an effect on Gregorius, who's disturbed by it and having flashbacks. De Soya dismisses his concerns, telling him they're just following orders, so there's nothing wrong with that, which is, boy, has that been used in history to justify some terrible things.
But doesn't it like that feels opposite of what we've learned about De Soya so far, who felt bad about what's her face?
Anya?
Because because she was a child and blah 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 and
right. So we'll get back to that kind of later.
Okay.
Cut to the Grand Inquisitor. He's on Mars and he hates it. He hates Mars. It's a terrible planet for him.
Why is Mars in this book? I don't get it.
Mars is
because the Shrike was there.
Yeah,
but why? Like, there's no point.
Because that was the headquarters of the Olympus Command School for Force.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
This is where...
Jeez, fella.
This is where Cassad, Fedman Cassad's story started on Mars in New Palestine.
Oh, yeah, that's another one of my lists of questions. He's dead, right? Cassad, he's not alive.
He died in the future battle with the Shrikes.
He died in the future by Shrike, so he's not there anymore. Okay. Just to make sure. Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't mean he will stay dead, but he...
he can have a cruciform appear on him magically. We don't know.
Nobody's ever really dead. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mars has been settled into New Palestine, has shown no interest in joining the church. In the capital of New Palestine, named Arafat Kafia, was where the Shrike had appeared. First, the Inquisitor reviews photos and video, and only the Pax people were killed. None of the natives or New Palestinians were killed by the Shrike, only the Pax people. So, Shrike's on a mission of some kind.
I'm okay with that so far.
Yeah. And while there were multiple Shrikes, it was just one Shrike moving very quickly. Because,
obviously.
Yeah.
He's a ninja.
The Inquisitors also made aware that there's a suspicious spaceport on the outskirts of the city that had a lot of traffic, like 30 to 50 transports a day for the last few weeks before the Shrike attacked. Apparently, the spaceport was run by Opus Dei for some unknown purpose.
Ooh, mysterious.
All the bodies, it seemed, include all the Opus Dei people. So the entire Opus Dei contingent on the planet was wiped out. So there's no one to interrogate. And the Opus Dei had apparently also been wiping the computers in the spaceport as they preparing to bug out. Like they wrapped up their operation. They were just destroying the computers and covering their tracks when the Shrike showed up and wrecked shop.
How does the Shrike know who to kill? Do they glow? Does he have special
predator vision?
Magic, predator vision to know which people are Pax?
Who does the Shrike want to kill, Danielle? What does the Shrike want?
Apparently to kill Pax.
Apparently, we don't know. The Shrike's motivations are perhaps the most inscrutable part of this book, which is saying something.
Which is my favorite part. But what, how does he know? How does he know, Sam?
He knows who has the cruciforms.
How?
Because he knows who has...
Do they smell? Do they glow?
He's someone who installed the cruciforms on the where the
it's photographic memory. He sees their face. He's you've got a cruciform.
I'm sure you can sense them magically by the cruciform's presence or whatever.
It's biotechnological super technology, so he's got microchips in the cruciforms.
I'm sure you can sense them in some way. He can do bioscans or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Got it.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's what bothers you.
This whole side thing about combining biological and technological stuff, the whole thing about Ania being half robot and not being a robot at all.
She's not half a robot.
She's not, but she has all the information in the human biological brain. Doesn't make any sense. So, whatever. It's just something that, technology that's not technology, the explanation.
Yeah. So none of them can figure out what the Opus Dei were doing or transporting. Hint, it's probably people. It's almost always going to be people. Yeah.
Obviously.
So the Inquisitor goes to the city, which has been evacuated, to see the carnage, and it's brutal. People's bodies are absolutely mangled by the Shrike, and it managed to remove all 500 meters of the cruciform from every body. Not even a scrap remained. So unlike what he did to DeRay, he actually took the time to, take out every single piece of the cruciform. So, does that make a difference?
500
no,
meters?
It shouldn't. 500 meters.
All of them or one person?
One. Each person has 500 meters of
How long did that take?
It's a Shrike. Time means nothing to it.
Instantaneously, and he just pulls it out, and there's little stringies that come out of his body.
Imagine someone pulled out all your nerves or all your
I got that
capillaries.
image, it's like...
It's like one of those little poppers. They pop it and everything comes out.
Yeah. like one of those New Year's poppers.
The Shrike pulls it and it just goes... It's like a chest hugger.
Okay.
So, very brutal. No one to resurrect, no one to interrogate. Big mystery. Back on Vitus Gray Balianus B. So that's
Sure.
that's the planet with Raul on it. So here, Nemi and her siblings have shown up following the telltale activation of the Farcaster. They land and quickly learn about the strange off-worlder that had turned up and conclude it's probably Raul and or Ania. And I guess I wouldn't be trusted by the Inquisitor because I used the word and or, but there you go. Thanks, Filip. Danielle, stop paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
I'm still thinking about all this
I was looking
exploded,
something up.
What are you looking at,
exploded
Danielle?
people and all these
Nothing.
piles of nerves.
Are you looking at how long our nerves are in our body?
No.
How much body mass is that? Like, imagine the pile of cruciforms like lying all over. Did he just leave it behind on the floor? Like, what happened?
It's gone. Because if they had any of they could resurrect people from scraps of the
So
cruciform.
did he just like eat it, or what did the Shrike do with all this mess?
Yes, he ate it.
Like that he ate
I
it.
didn't go with he ate it. He served up like spaghetti. He had a Lady in the Tramp moment with one of the
That
people.
doesn't put it. It's a lot
He
of
probably
stuff.
it probably lights up and like soaks into his skin
Or he
somehow and gives him
incinerates
power.
it. I don't know.
Is the Shrike made of cruciforms? And this is how he regenerates?
Yes! Love that so much.
I love that for him. Love it so much.
That's so good.
I'm so happy for him and his cruciform
That's a
body.
completely valid idea. That
Amazing.
he's just like a living version of the cruciform. Like that's
But
how he regenerates so
The cruciform
frequently and
merge
goes
into
through
steel.
time.
So that's all the nerves like go together to make the steel spikes.
That's the best idea I've ever heard. Good
New
job, Phil.
headcanon has been launched.
Unless Simmons tells me otherwise. That's what it is.
That's right. Okay, Simmons, ball's in your court, buddy.
It always is.
So after they learn about that, after they think it's probably Raul or Ania, they head out there, but the local governor is peeved that they're like stepping on his territory, so he sends his own fleet of skimmers after them to take control of the prisoner first. And so Nemes and the others are posing as this noble guard to try to like pull rank and authority here. But the guy's like, I just don't buy it. So he sends out some people to follow them. Back to Raul. He's still in pain, but he finally passes the kidney stone. It only took like 3 chapters. So here we go.
Oh my God, back to this.
He made it.
Get out of here with the kidney stones. Nobody cares
Here's the
about
fun
it.
part too. Ever since he was first drugged, he's been hallucinating Ania, like being like hanging out in the room with him. So like while he's in the bathroom, passing his kidney stone, Ania's sitting on the counter. And he's like chatting with her.
Well, it gets pretty boring being in the bathroom that long.
Yeah, I suppose.
Does he find the stone? Do we get to like
Yeah,
experience?
he talks about it.
his-
He tells him, he's like, how could a small
Yes.
thing cause so much pain? I'm like, yeah.
Oh my God. Of course.
Yep. Why did he collect the stone in the filter? No, nothing. He just throws it away, I presume, after that, because we never hear about it again.
What an odd choice of disease for him to be suffering through.
I'm gonna go on eBay, and if I find an auction for Dan Simmons' kidney stone, I'm gonna... flip
No,
out.
don't do it, Philip. It's a dangerous world out there. So after he passed the kidney stone, his hosts are ecstatic that he's passed the stone. But then the guard handcuffs him to the bed so the priest can then come talk to him. And then he wouldn't run away now that he's no longer incapacitated by pain.
He should have seen that coming.
Yeah, duh. The priest asks Raul his opinion on the church, and Raul demurs.
Is he still under truth serum or he's like out?
He's out by now. And just like in the previous book, the priest says he's going to get the death penalty. But hey, if he converts, it's only a temporary problem. The priest then tries to convince Raul using everyone's favorite logical fallacy, Pascal's wager.
Yay!
Oh my God.
Everyone's familiar here with Pascal's wager? Need to go into it? Because Dan Simmons goes into it in quite a bit of depth.
I have to look this up.
Well, he has to.
Oh, all right. For everyone's edification, Pascal's wager is the idea that, like, you should believe in the church because either the church is right or wrong, and if you believe in the church and it's right, you get the good ending. If you believe in the church and you're wrong, there is no, like, afterlife, well, then you haven't lost anything. There's no downside to that. If you don't believe in the church and the church is right, that's the bad ending. And if you don't believe in the church and the church is wrong, nothing. So really, there's one guaranteed way to get the good ending is if the church is right and you believe in it. Otherwise, there's really only downside to not believing in the church.
I heard of this. I had no idea it was called Pascal's wager.
Yeah, so Blaise Pascal, conceived of this, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get into it right now. But yeah, so that's the idea. Of course, there are many reasons why this is not the totality of why you should or should not believe in a religion. I think there are probably better reasons for both. But Raul apparently had actually read up a whole bunch about Pascal on the library on Old Earth. So he's like totally prepared for this conversation and has the priest beat on his knowledge about Pascal. He's able
The
to
only time in the entire series where he has any knowledge of anything.
Yeah. He, so he's like, oh yeah, Pascal has a thing. And Raul's like, well, maybe Pascal lived in this time where it was an intellectual revolution was going on. And he was afraid of what was being discovered. quote, being terrified by the eternal silence of these infinite spaces, as he's called him a spiritual agoraphobic. And so that's why he was making this argument, because he wasn't really saying that the right answer is leaving the church because it's logical, but because he is afraid of the implications of it not being true. So he's trying to find a way to rationalize it to be true. Mm-hmm. The priest is like, okay, buddy, we'll talk later. And Raul then falls asleep again and has a dream where he tells Ania about how he totally owned that priest with his Pascal knowledge. And it's like, yeah, I totally told him. And when she laughs at the spiritual agoraphobic line, it's like, oh gosh, I really love her laugh. I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this.
Yeah. It's back in a big way. I've been leaving out a lot of it here.
It's gross every time.
It is.
I skipped it in the recap. I was waiting for you to recap that part. Wasn't gonna force it.
I forgot. I took it out of my brain and burned it.
So Ania then asks why Raul isn't in on the cruciform, assuming that the church had there was no connection to the church, there was no consequences, you had to become part of the church, there was no strings attached to the cruciform, would he take it? And Raul's like, no, of course he wouldn't. And so it's like, it's not the church that you object to then, it's the cruciform, it's the resurrection. And he's like, yeah, I reject the whole notion of this kind of resurrection. She's like, well, what other kind of resurrection is there? And he says,
old school resurrection.
No, he's like, no, there's the idea of a spiritual resurrection, a resurrection of the soul that the church used to promise. Upon death, you're reborn in the afterlife. And she's like, well, do you believe in that? And he's like, no, I don't believe that either. So it's like, well, fine then. So she asks, if you don't believe in anything, is all religion, is all faith folly? Do you believe in me? If I am the Messiah, or I guess if she is the Messiah, wouldn't he then be believing in her, as the religion? And he's like, no, I don't believe in you as a Messiah. I believe in you as a friend. And she's like, what if your friend is the Messiah? Is that the same thing? And so they go around like this for a little bit. Ania then says she was chosen solely because she was the first child of humanity and the core. And bridging worlds, bridging different eras is what Messiahs do. She's not the Messiah because of what she is, but what she can do. As a virus, she can infect others with, quote, the next step in what we are, what we can be. Got that? Good. Raul asks what the heck she's talking about.
Here's my answer. It was part of my list. What does Ania want? So
yeah. So Raul asks, do you mean this next step is understanding that love is a basic fundamental force of the universe, like gravity, yada, yada, yada? And she's all like, no, that's the source of the virus. And what I teach is how to use that energy. There are 4 steps in that process for using the force of love as energy in the universe. Ready for these 4 steps?
Sam's corner.
This is Simmons' corner, please. I'm merely the vessel.
Sam's educational corner.
These 4 steps, they're going to answer all your questions, Filip. All your questions will be answered right now.
Everything for the whole book. This is going to sum it up for you.
The first step here, easy step, is learning the language of the dead. Got that? Good. What? Moving on. The second step is learning the language of the living. Raul does try to ask her, what's going on. She's like, shh, I'm not going to tell you. And she's like, keep going. The third step is hearing the music of the spheres.
What?
Cool? Mm-hmm. Got it. The fourth step is learning to take the first step. And no, not the first step in this, but taking the first step as a metaphor or something. Not the first step of the language of the dead. It's a whole other thing. It's a whole other first step.
Trying very hard not to swear.
So there's your answer.
Don't do that on your podcast.
This is the thing.
The dilemma is that we may or may not know what any of this means by the end of the book.
Absolutely. I'm so glad.
Can't deal tips.
Ania doesn't have to be forever known as the one who teaches, but if she does start teaching people, she has to teach anyone who wants the knowledge about these 4 steps, and she'll forever be known as the one who teaches. But she can't just teach one person like Raul. She has to teach anyone who wants it. And besides, she can't teach Raul now anyway because he's not ready to learn yet. And she hasn't decided what to do since her teaching can't coexist with the cruciform. What if, her teachings mean the cruciform can't exist. They're incompatible with each other.
Why?
So if she teaches somebody with a cruciform, it won't work?
No. She can teach, they go into this. She can teach the people in the cruciform, they can still have the church, it's all going to be fine, but the cruciform part of them has to go away. The cruciform has to be removed or whatever. I don't know.
If they don't know how to remove it, sans Shrike.
Again, I don't know. There's going to be some magical solution problem. Maybe learning about this will make the cruciform wither and die and fall off of you. I don't know.
Or maybe the Shrike just works with Ania. They're already best friends anyway.
Tag
and
team.
They can tag team it.
Maybe.
Just line up. It's like their communion.
There you go. See, that's a great idea.
I fail to see how this is connected in any way. Like, is it because the language of the dead? So when they have the cruciform, they're never truly dead, so they can't speak the language of the dead or something like that?
That's like, actually way more thought than I put into this.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Love it.
I was
how is this?
So glad he's here.
Yeah. I mean, that's very possible. Like, there's a lot in this part of the philosophy is also about how, like, what's important about a person is the life they live, right? And the fact that it's finite gives it meaning. So there's that aspect to it as well. Whether or not you accept that, I'm not here to argue.
I am perplexed. I don't understand any of these steps, nor why this is connected with the cruciform.
Yep. That is the right response. Correct, Philip. Correct. You are now welcome to the world of this podcast where we're I may not be doing the best job of retelling Simmons' philosophy. I may not be relaying it in the clearest way or the most. I may be skipping some things that would be clarified or that are necessary. So I apologize to anyone out there who has a clear understanding of these books and has a better sense of what this philosophy is. And if I leave something out, please definitely write into Philip.
Oh, no.
Specifically.
mindduckbooks@gmail.com, I believe.
Yeah.
And tell him all the things that explain this that I have done wrong, that will correct me.
But don't spoil it.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
I'm also, moreover, horrified that Raul is not ready to learn this wisdom from Ania.
Yep.
And I wonder when he's going to be ready to learn. I wonder if Danielle's going to be excited about this event that might happen.
Cat box.
Post cat box.
And then after
they've done that, in a box.
He's going to be ready after the act of We Shall Never Talk About.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to know if he finds out before the cat box or after the cat box or never.
Well, maybe we'll know by the end of the book.
Funny.
Be very funny. You're never ready, Rolf. Sorry. So Raul is woken by one of the women in the house. She tells him the packs are coming for him, and then gets him out of the handcuffs and gets him dressed. They had drugged the guard and handcuffed him in Raul's place. Apparently, the Spectrum Helix people have spies and resources all over the Pax areas of this world, and she ushers Raul into a secret maze of tunnels beneath the house. Like the whole family, they're basically making an exit here.
Then why did they ever get a Pax healer to begin with? Because they're against the Pax.
They need to heal him.
They just couldn't let him die. They knew who he was? Did they know who he was from the get-go?
Well, boy, we're about to get to something here. Don't worry about that. They didn't know who he was at the beginning. They were just being good Samaritans. But the others of the town will delay the pact with bureaucracy. They say, you can't search here. We have our own autonomy, etc., while they get Raul back to the Farcaster post so he can continue his journey. He's like, wait a minute. How do you know about the Farcaster and my journey? And they're like, hey, newsflash, buddy, you talk in your sleep and you're under truth tell. So we heard everything. We know all about your journey. We know all about your conversation with Ania, or as we know her, the one who teaches. Yes, the Spectrum Helix people know about Ania. They come from empath stock and work to refine their empathic abilities. And helpful Amoyet, he knew of the one who teaches when he composed his symphony, and that's part of their philosophy as well. So she is like one of their messiahs. She's like part of their religion already.
How convenient that he landed on a planet when he was ill that knows all about him.
Convenient, or the Farcaster took him there on purpose?
Yes, that.
Well, I guess I'd get a whole lot more convenient, Danielle, because this is also a very good time for them to make an escape, because there's about to be a festival for the time of double darkness, or twice darkness, which is when there's a double eclipse of both the suns of the planet. So there's a rare double eclipse. So it's like, oh, if you're going to escape, this hour is the perfect time to do it, because we're going to have a double eclipse. It's going to be a big old celebration with fireworks and parades.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is choice timing, basically. So in a large cabin, they dress Raul up in their robes and hide him and his kayak in one of the wind cycles that they have in this giant cavern. Raul is told then, if you do not escape this place, the Pax will have your soul and body, and the one who teaches needs both of those things. Gross. Gross. Do not like. No, thank you.
It's gonna happen.
She's an adult already.
Sooner or later it's gonna happen, and that's when he learns he can be taught, or she learns that he can be taught, or she's gonna teach him, or something like that.
Is it post-sex? Is that when he's allowed to be told?
That's exactly what I was in.
Maybe he needs that, what's it known as, post-nut clarity, I
That's
think
exactly
is the phrase.
what I was trying to not say out loud. Yes.
Well, I will take that bullet for you, Philip.
That's 100% what's going to happen. 100% what's going to happen.
Amazing. That's when you can receive the wisdom of the universe.
Yeah.
Anyway, they take the wind cycles out and down the river to where the Farcaster is. Raul gets into his kayak in the river and he starts paddling out. But just before he leaves, there's a big commotion on the side of the riverbank, a couple of explosions, then a bright flash of light just as he passes below the Farcaster arch and disappears. He finds himself free floating in open air, floating blobs of water that were once part of the river all around him, and only lightning dappled clouds below him.
He's floating.
Okay. Cut to Isazaki, terrified that something just walked out of space onto his ship, like just knocked on his door like a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh my god, so many things.
Yeah. Guess who it is?
Raw.
No.
Maybe father,
He's
somebody.
floating in space. It's not him.
He's not in space. He's floating above clouds.
It's gonna be
Okay, well, I don't know how far
Pope,
his ship is.
somebody being empowered by cruciforms, encapsulated in cruciforms in space.
Nope.
And that's how he can fly in
It's
space.
Aethetic.
Nope. Close.
Are we out of people? Like, does it feel like we've gone out of characters?
It's Councilor Albedo.
Yeah,
It's
I
in
never
the
would have
court.
gotten there.
Yeah.
I forgot he even existed.
So he just walks in, they exchange some pleasantries, and Isazaki identifies him as the same Albedo from the hegemony, but no longer a hologram. He's got an upgraded fancy new body. He is sexy Albedo, ready for loving. That's how I imagine him anyway.
Maybe he can have children.
Yeah.
And one of them can be the next Messiah.
Double Messiah. So Isazaki got his attention by releasing a clumsy virus into the Patcham datasphere, and he wanted to meet with Albedo to discuss the possibility of a new alliance. While currently allied with the Vatican, if the Corps chose to ally with the Mercantilis, there would be advantages. Since the Mercantilis is expanding the ways only capitalism can and religion cannot, they'll have the ability to expand their forces and expand their influence. He also has no interest in wasting resources on an endless war with the Ousters, way more pragmatic than the religious zealots of the church. Also, the Corps gets no credit among humanity for all the tech they provide, like the resurrection crests and the Gideon drives, and the Mercantiles would have no problem giving them all that credit they would want, if they so choose. They also wouldn't have to dump or destroy the church. This could be a second, another venue, another alliance that goes parallel to their alliance with the church. So this isn't like replacing the church. It's just, hey, you can ally with us too. We could all help each other out. Big old happy family. At this point, Albedo asks Isazaki if he remembers the conversation he had in his private office with his assistant. Remember when he made her get undressed and they pointed at the cruciform on her chest as like, why did the Corps give that to humanity? Why did the Corps do that? Isazaki is very shook that anything could spy on him in his like super secure office. He's like, uh-oh, they know everything. I'm in deep trouble here. Albedo then asks Isazaki about his pet shark he had when he was a kid. Yes, Isazaki had a pet shark on his home planet.
What?
As one does.
Yeah.
I know I too have a pet shark.
Do you?
I do.
Is it real or stuffed?
Real.
Yeah, where is it?
In an aquarium.
Okay, very good, Danielle.
It's in water, Sam. It's a shark, obviously.
I'm the idiot here. I'm sorry.
Do you mean where is it located in my space?
Yes.
It's in my bedroom.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, what kind of shark is it?
It's a little baby shark.
Do.
A tiger shark.
It's a little tiger shark. Those get real big, Danielle.
Well, I have a very big aquarium.
Okay, cool. So maybe you can answer this question too. So Albedo asks Isazaki, how did you control your shark when it was trying to act out, trying to bite you? How would you do
my
that,
shark
Danielle?
doesn't bite me. We have an understanding.
How'd you train it to do that, Danielle? What'd you use? What techniques?
Food, obviously, Sam.
No.
It's a shark.
The answer that Isazaki gives, the obvious one, a shock collar.
Hugs.
A shark shock collar. An electric collar to shock the shark so it behaved.
No,
with a little
that's
remote
terrible.
button. Yes,
With
yes.
just some clicker training, it would be fine. I don't know why.
Clicker training for the shark. Great.
Works
I thought
for
he
me.
would get a cruciform and just let himself be eaten and then resurrect himself.
No. So, at this moment, and the moment Isazaki mentions the shock collar, Albedo makes a gesture, and Isazaki doubles over in absolutely excruciating pain that radiates out from the cruciform in his chest. Just
That's what he
unbelievable
gets
pain.
for having a shock collar on a shark.
Yeah. When Albedo eventually releases the pain and says he'll bring the proposal to the 3 elements of the Corps and see where it goes. But so the Corps has a shock collar on all of humanity, basically, at this point.
Awesome.
Through the cruciform?
Yeah.
Wow. Shocking.
Dun, dun, dun. Go away, Danielle.
There were terms and conditions.
No one ever reads those things, Danielle.
Nobody read the frickin' contract.
I wonder what that means for the Shrike being built out of cruciforms. It's gonna not be controlled, but super activated and overloads the whole network, and the whole technocore explodes when they try to attack him because it's too many cruciforms.
The Shrike gets, like, fingertip lightning, like...
Yeah. Unlimited power.
Yeah.
Be pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back with Nebbies. They're all stalled looking for Raul because of the bureaucracy. So she's like, screw this. Gaiji's and me, we're going to go to fast time and look for Raul while you guys deal with this bureaucratic nonsense. We're just going to go, clandestine and do it. So she says to Gaiji's to go down to the Farcaster portal, make sure no one goes through it, that, Raul doesn't get through it, while she searches the house. And she says to him, if he finds anything, to send her a squirt. So squirts are back. Apparently, squirts are not only for fat lines. You can squirt anything.
We love squirts.
What a phrase.
If you find any kind of message,
send to your squirt.
You can squirt on the common band, or you can squirt on the fat line band, or you can squirt in fast time. Doesn't matter. It's all squirts all the time.
This is another thing on my list of questions. I'll hold off for next episode.
Oh, great. Perfect.
I love a good squirt.
I'm so delighted this phrase, which he hadn't used back up until this point, has returned. It's delightful.
It was the only thing I knew for a while there. Remember the first 2 or 3 episodes?
The
only thing
squirt.
I could remember was the line squirt.
You're like, I love that soda. So Nemi goes into that house and finds the drugged guard and uses a needle that grows under her fingernail to do a blood test on him and see he was drugged. She then starts sniffing the air because her sense of smell is, quote, 3 times more sensitive than a typical gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. Or,
how does
quote,
she run
unquote,
this? Does she run the lab inside of her own body?
Yeah, exactly. Or somewhere above a bloodhound. So apparently, I don't know if you ever worked with a GCMS, but apparently a GCMS...
Philip and I do all the time. I don't
but apparently
part of our work.
A bloodhound is more... I don't know if this is true. If this is true, that's awesome. But apparently a bloodhound's nose, according to Simmons, is more powerful than a GCMS, or more sensitive than a GCMS, and Nemi's is somewhere above a bloodhound and 3 times that of a mass spectrometer. What kind of mass spectrometer? Quadrupole, time of flight? He doesn't say.
I think I understand what the problem with this is, because we get so deep into this, what, why, which? And in this process, I completely forgot what was happening in the first place. Who is this? Where are they? What the... Okay,
That's why I can't remember the plots later.
It's so distracting, all this stuff.
Danielle, I can't believe we did it. We finally make Philip give up. That is amazing.
Thinking about what she just discussed, I completely forgot who was doing this or where they were or why.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the experience of reading this book. It all just slides over your brain.
He'll renew fresh next time because he's an eternal optimist.
That's true.
Okay.
So Niminu, she finds Raul's scent, but not Ania's or Abetic. So she's like, well, I'm going to find Raul then. And she's really excited about it. She has a real revenge kick out for Raul and is excited to go get him. Also, she's like, I got to take him alive, or at least in a mode I can interrogate him, because I need to find out where Ania is. So her plan is to basically incapacitate him, snatch him out of slow time into fast time, drug him, knock him out, and then put wires into his brain and download his memories directly without him ever waking up, and then kill him. So,
sure.
Good stuff. However, in the tunnels, impossibly, while she's in fast time, the lights go out. It gets completely dark.
In the tunnels?
In the tunnels.
Is there electric stuff in the tunnels?
There were lights in the tunnels.
Okay.
As Nemes drops out of fast time to figure out what happened, suddenly there's a figure right in front of her, impossibly fast. It uses its 4 arms and smashes her through the walls into unconsciousness.
Yay, Shrike.
Shrike is back, kicking ass, dropping beats, and dropping Nemes on her ass.
I'm sorry, I can't take it anymore. But when you say in fast time, what exactly are you talking about?
Okay, so I don't know. But
because
fast time,
we're back to Sam's educational
fast time
corner.
meant the androids internal data plane, whatever sphere. When they're in the cyberspace, that's when they're fast time.
No, well, maybe, but
that's what it meant in the first book.
Okay, give me a minute. I can find a quote where he described what fast time is.
This is a concept I really like in sci-fi, that the androids and computers can think so much faster than
That's not it.
People. And this is what they describe in the first book. I never used it again, so I'm sure this is not it. But what is fast time? I don't know. Because all of us were like going along with like, yeah, dropping in and out was fast time. Okay, I was trying not to ask, but sorry, couldn't take it anymore.
I just assumed they moved really fast.
I assume it's something that only the cyborgs can do, somehow.
Here we go. So, quote, I'm going to read this paragraph. I highlighted it just in case this came up.
In case Filip asked.
Yeah. So Nemes did not understand the physics of phase shifting. She did not have to understand it or to use it. She knew that it was neither the anti-entropic or hyper-entropic manipulation of time, although the future UI had both of those seemingly magical technologies at its command, nor some sort of speeding up that would have had sonic booms crashing and the air temperature boiling in the wake, but that phase shifting was a sort of sidestepping into the hollowed-out boundaries of space-time.
So phase shifting and fast time is the same thing?
So she phase shifts into fast time.
Yeah, and this is what the Shrike does.
Maybe something else, because apparently what the Shrike is doing here, they can't detect. Like, this is beyond what they're doing. So this is something else.
Very fast time.
Yeah. Like, believe it or not, that answered some of my questions. So thanks.
I don't believe it, but there you go.
Okay.
All right, so she's unconscious. We're back on Mars. The Inquisitor's investigation hasn't been going well. The locals have been rebelling against the Pax, and he's gotten no new information on the Shrike attack or the mysterious spaceport. But he suddenly requested to return to his ship, where the captain says they found another ship, a derelict in the asteroid belt, the one the Opus Dei had been sending their transports to. He was going to wait to get the Inquisitor on board to have official authorization to aboard the Opus Dei ship, and he has a bad feeling about it. So he wants to have the full complement of Swiss Guards and Marines to do the boarding. Back to the task force. They just finished wiping out their seventh and final system, Lucifer. With this successful mission, they were to return to Tau Ceti, refit and rearm, and head out to do another campaign of destruction.
Where? You just said it was the last one.
Well, the last of this first expedition. Now they have to refit, and they're successful proof of concept. They've established they can murder everything, so off they go.
But I thought they already had murdered everything. So...
They did 7 systems, and they said that they actually put up no resistance. Now it's confirmed. You can't just do one data point. That's not good science.
I thought that was enough. Okay.
No, you need more than one data point for good science.
Okay.
Or bad science in this case. Evil science. Good science can be used for evil, let's be clear. On the Raphael, de Soya's second in command is actually a spy reporting up the chain of command to the other admirals and whatnot. He's suspicious about de Soya seeing so many crew and confessions so frequently of late. But that's not really a suspicion he can, act on. He can't, say, hey guys, this priest has been giving confession a lot, and also people have been doing terrible things that need confessing, so suspicious. So he just, keeps it to himself for now. As they prepare to leave for Tau Ceti, several hidden Ouster ships appear and make a run for it to get word out, because so far no one's been able to get word out to the other Ouster groups about this because they've been so fast and cut everything off so quickly. And why the Ouster ships didn't wait for the task force to leave before making their big run for it, I don't know. Because they apparently were home free. It was like, hey, they're going to leave, but we should go first to give them a chance to kill us. So the Raphael and another ship are dispatched to destroy them while the rest of the task force goes on ahead to Tau Ceti. That's when de Soya appears on the bridge with Gregorius, the weapons system officer, also known as Wizzo, which is delightful.
Love it.
That is the name of the weapons system officer, the Wizzo. 2 other Swiss troops and several other officers. Gregorius stuns the second in command as they stash his body in stasis. It's a mutiny. They're looking to defect.
I love mutinies.
Yeah. De Soya and the others are defecting. After all the horrors they've seen, 8 of the crew members who decide to defect have incapacitated the other 20 crew members and decide to take the ship somewhere. We don't get to learn where. Abandon the Pax. It was the only thing de Soya could think of to save his soul because, this whole campaign is weighing heavily on him.
We saw that coming, right? Did they not see that coming?
No.
How did they not see that?
Because they're idiots.
He did it last time, too.
Yeah. So the Raphael changes course to make a break for it, and the other ship turns to pursue them after blowing up the Ousters. There's this very, very long cat and mouse thing where de Soya and the other captain appear in hologram to each other so they can talk in the tactical hologram space. And de Soya's all like, oh, I got secret orders. I'm following them out. I can't tell you what they are, but I need to do this. And the other captain's like, yeah, sure, just let me talk to your second in command so I can confirm them. He's like, oh, he's busy right now. He's on the toilet, can't come talk to you. And there's other thing happening where, like, they each can tell that the other one is holding a weapon. Like, literally, they, like, point their ship's death beams at each other. But to have this happen in metaphor, in the virtual hologram space, they have, like, a gun in their hand that represents the weapon of the death beam ship.
That's dumb.
But the gun is invisible to the other person, but they can tell. I can tell by the way the other captain is holding their arm that they have a gun in their hand or whatever. So, like, they're both, like, it's like a quick draw showdown kind of thing in cyberspace.
This is like a metaphorical hologram?
No, it's a little hologram. They're in hologram space.
I get that, but, like, the gun is a metaphor within the hologram, which is insane.
Yeah, so the gun is a metaphor for, like, the ship's weapons. Like, you shoot the gun, you're shooting the ship's weapon. It's not the actual metaphor gun in your hand.
So that means your hologram would have to understand, like, create these metaphors.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So, like, the weapon...
What kind of crazy technology is that?
No, so what actually happened was de Soya said to his weapons, his Wizzo, to give him a death beam button, a death beam gun. And so the Wizzo, when he activated the death beams, he gave him, like, the trigger. And that was what happened. That's the metaphor.
Sure.
Yeah, so why is this necessary? I don't know. Do they do a quick draw? Not really. Which would have been a lot cooler. Are there any virtual tumbleweeds? No. There shouldn't be. Anyway, at some point, after all this back and forth, they finally do a little quick draw, and they both shoot their death beams at each other. Both crews are instantly killed, so it's a massacre. But de Soya's ship, the Raphael's already been programmed to make the jump, so they're probably going to escape and be resurrected on the other side, so no harm, no foul. But, the other captain anticipated this and also shot missiles at them to, like, blow up the ship, because destroying it is more important than letting the Ousters get their hands on their technology. So... Last thing that we see is de Soya dies, and he realizes the missiles are headed their way, and that's it. We don't know what happens next.
Of course.
Dun, dun, dun.
Is that the end? Do we have more?
We have more.
It keeps going.
I only did 5 chapters this time, not 6. So
it's amazing. It feels like a lot of chapters.
There were some very long chapters. We're still on schedule until we've been a third of the way through the book, so... Back with Nemes' brother, Gyges, he's waiting by the Farcast report for Raul to show up. We're back in time. This gives back a lot. Checking every boat that passes in fast time, he finally sees Raul approaching, and he sort of casually walks out to, like, go pick up Raul and take him away, when suddenly the Shrike appears next to him, dropping beats! And then he drops Gyges. The Shrike basically rams his arm into his body and starts ripping apart his organs from the inside, tearing out fibers and wires and organs, all the stuff that's inside of the body. Gyges attempts to, like, punch the Shrike with a blow that would shatter steel, but just sort of bounces off. So he tries again, and the Shrike then bites his hand off. Very cool.
It's like...
Very cool.
Bad boy, no biscuit.
He's like, you're trying to punch me, the Shrike? I think not. Gum, 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 gum. And so then the Shrike, like, rips his head off and throws the head off into the river. And then he rips out both of his hearts. He has 2 hearts, apparently, for some reason. What? And throws both of those into the river.
Wait, why is there a river?
This is the river that Raul is going down to get to the Farcaster.
Okay.
That he was waiting by. The river is always there. I'm confused
where we are now, but continue.
It's just on Vitus Gray Balianus B.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
This is the planet Raul was escaping from.
Okay.
And Nemes and Gyges showed up, and Gyges went to watch the Farcaster on the river while Nemes went to go find Raul in the house.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Anyway, Gyges is getting the actual crap kicked out of him. This is very funny. Gyges tries to control his body remotely with his head, like remote control it, but the transmitter in his brain was destroyed by the Shrike, as was the receiver in his spleen. Why is there a receiver in his spleen? Why is that the place to put the receiver for the mind control for his body? I don't know. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. The spleen seems like it has other uses than being the receiver. Right? Put in the appendix if you're going to put it someplace useless. I don't know. What a weird thing. Why this? I don't understand the spleen. The Shrike vanishes. 20 minutes later, Niminu shows up and finds Gyges' body. She's incredulous that she had been knocked out for 20 whole minutes and is pretty beat up. Something she also thought was impossible. Like she thought she was indestructible, but she'll have to spend a few days healing. He fishes Gyges' head out of the river and downloads and transmits his memories to the others. They're like, oh, it's the Shrike. And they're like, no duh, it's the Shrike. Well done.
I'm really liking the Shrike in this book.
The Shrike is finally doing something.
Yeah, it's very action-packed, like in and out.
In and out, murder some
Killing the
people,
bad guys.
doing some stuff, not just standing around looking ominous. I like this Shrike. This is action Shrike.
He squeezes sides and his alarms go out.
Yeah, there you go. You squeeze his sides and he drops beats.
Little stabby emotions.
There you go. Gaiji's is still alive. While it would take months for him to repair himself, Nemes is like, I got no time for that. Also, she refers to Gaijis and the rest of them as the Vatborn. So that's a new term for them, Vatborn. So maybe they're part of the... Yep. So they're clones.
Like
probably.
In the Matrix.
Yes, maybe vats of clone vats.
When they create them in those little, like, you know, talking about that scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where they have like the giant steak thing taking the egg pods and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like that.
Perfect.
So Nemi's like, I'm not going to wait months for this guy to repair himself. So she weighs his body down with rocks and dumps him into the river to be eaten by scavengers before tossing the head into the river after it.
She's hardcore.
Absolutely. She also rips open a panel on the Farcaster Arch to see where Raul went. Apparently, it sent him somewhere where no core built Farcaster exists, which is like, what? I thought all the Farcaster ports were built with a core. Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun. So Nemes and the others leave to report all this to Counselor Albedo in person. And that's where we're going to end for this episode.
Oh my goodness.
What a trip that I won't remember later.
So this episode got a lot weirder.
Yeah,
plot started happening.
I've definitely
the Shrike showed up.
up.
Any further questions, Philip, that you can't wait till next time?
I can wait.
He sounds so downtrodden.
I feel so bad, Philip, because like
you beat him up.
You were so optimistic. Like, we're gonna get my answers. We're gonna lift the curse, and like 90 minutes later, 2 hours, 100 minutes later, you're like, I'm so sad and tired. My whole day is ruined.
Some of these...
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do this to you, Philip. I'm sorry. I feel responsible.
You say some of these things as if they made sense and we all knew what you were talking about, and your facial expression is solid, but no.
I said them knowing they didn't make sense, and I had no explanation for them, so you just had to accept them and move on.
Like, this happened a bunch of times, and I was like counting up how many times you said something that we clearly didn't know what you were talking about, and we just moved on. And when you went to fast pace, I couldn't take it anymore, and now I'm just like lost. And
that'd be a fun drinking game. Every time Sam says something in the book that was never explained in the book,
there are all
take
these
a drink.
terms you say, and we're supposed to know, but we don't know like 90% of these things.
What terms did I say that I expect you to know? I don't think I expect you to know any of these terms.
Like when the guy was being ripped apart with the Shrike, you said there were cables and mechanical parts and
he's like a they're part machine. They're machine
which
human
we
bodies.
Know that he was a cyberite? I didn't know.
I mean, we know that Nemes and these people are all like super.
I knew that.
Yeah, because remember in the last book they like survive and they have like fast time and they're like Shrike-like things.
This is like complete nonsense, high grade nonsense, because some of them are full on cybrites, some of them are half cybrites, some of them are full biological but acting as cybrites.
No, I'm sorry. So these are the Vatborn. They're a new like model.
These are the Vet Boys. The Vet Boys are
like... You think of the Venga Boys, which are pretty cool. I love the Venga Boys.
So these are a combination of cyborgs and humans, but
no, these are all cyborgs. They're basically like, they're more like, I guess, androids. Like, they're biological, mechanical organisms.
Yeah, so that's the same like the original, like in the first book, there were the cybrids.
Yeah. They're advanced models of that.
So that's the same thing.
No, the cybrids in the original are human bodies
that's
with
exactly
brains
the
in the technocore.
That's exactly
These
the confusion I had.
Enhanced technological bodies with 2 hearts. That was new information. I didn't know they had 2 hearts. That's pretty metal.
Well, this is the least of my problems. Whatever upgrades of Vent Boys. But then
Venga Boys, please.
And then Ania is just full on biological, but she's got all the things that the cyborgs have too. Like,
well, I mean, she has like mental capabilities.
That doesn't make sense.
She has like a deep understanding of the universe, how to use the force of love, like as a fundamental force of the universe, and like about the Void Witch Bind. She has like all this knowledge.
It's because she's a child of a cybrid and a human.
She's enlightened.
Like physically,
she's a human. Yeah.
If Ania moves into fast space, I'm gonna lose it. I don't think that's...
Well, I mean, remember, Moneta moved into fast space.
Exactly,
fast
but
time
she got
with
the
her
suit. She got the super shiny suit.
So she has the suit. She gets the ferals with the suit.
As far as I understand,
fine.
the suit can move you into fast space.
Yeah, sure.
Because Nimi, she has that, right? She
no.
has the suit.
Well, I mean, yes, they do. They go silvery when they go into fast time. That's just like a consequence
But
of
I thought she had the same suit like Crusade and the other...
No, it's like built into them. It's like part of them. They go silvery and go into fast time.
Okay, whatever.
Look,
my God.
Again, I am leaving out a lot here because I don't want to have a 12-hour episode, so there might be more details in here that might satisfy you. I wouldn't guarantee it, though, and really, it's up to you if you want to try reading this book to find out. That's your...
Yeah, Philip, maybe you should read the book.
Well, definitely, I had lots of fun. Thank you for including me. I think this is much better than
I really hope that you can regain your optimism by next episode.
Yeah,
you can regain your positivity and
write down more
bounciness.
questions. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't, Dana, do you have any questions? I know you fill up a lot of time, but what about you? You feel satisfied with all the answers I've given you so far?
I don't have questions, Sam. I just let it wash over me.
Okay.
I don't think about this nearly.
You
as
are
much
so zen in the Hyperion episodes. You're just like, it's like your meditation
this.
period. Yeah. You got to just let it become one with the word, the flow of syllables, and don't even let them become meaning in your head. Just let them flow in and out.
Otherwise, I'd just be angry constantly like Philip. That's the other end of the spectrum. So he hasn't learned yet. I had to learn through the first Hyperion book. Just let it go.
It's like the litany of fear, but it's the litany of Dan Simmons. You have to let it wash over you and go through you, and then only you remain.
Exactly that.
To butcher a Zen koan, first there is a plot, then there is no plot, then there is.
That's how I feel about these books. I am one with the Simmons.
Oh no, that sounds so bad.
Well, you're really going to hate what he does with the knee and roll then.
Exactly.
I am. I'm not even looking forward to it.
All right, well, I don't know what's happening next. Thank you so much for your spooky contribution to our episode, Philip.
Very spooky. Thank you.
Very spooky. I was scary how much your will to live, I could see it draining from your face as the episode went off. I felt like I was Jigsaw, torturing you.
It was very spooky for me personally. I feel it put me in the Halloween spirit. 100%.
That's good.
And also you mentioned it's only a third way through the book, so
yeah, about
that's
30%,
also very spooky.
Oh yeah.
So the plan is 6 episodes, is it? Or not?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Crossed.
I feel like you should stretch it out because we've been recording way too long. I wonder who's still listening. So thank you so much, people who are listening, because
I will do my best to chop this down, but there's so much to cover. I mean, we're only human, unlike Nemis.
You asked me to talk more, you might regret it because now it's so much longer.
I really appreciate everything you said. You have some really good ideas there about the Shrike being made of cruciforms. Love that.
I love that. I love that so much. It makes me happy inside.
Well, if you out there have a suggestion for what the Shrike might be made of, besides cruciforms, although I'm pretty sure that, or you have a suggestion for how Paul DeRay got his cruciform back,
Ugh, still mad about it.
if you have an idea for that, you can write into us at bookretorts.com.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at bookretorts.
And if you want to fund our DJ Shrike revival tour, he's back, he's massacring, it's gonna happen. You can do so at patreon.com/bookretorts. Very good. Can you beatbox, Philip?
No, I can't do that. I'm too white.
And that never stopped us. Look at Danielle's boots and pants beatboxing.
Great.
Some things I can't do to Chen.
Okay.
Like I can't beatbox. She wouldn't.
Well, where can people find you then, Philip, if they want more of your delightful optimism?
Thank you so much for giving me a shout out. You can find me at mindduckbooks.com. We try to find the next mind-blowing book. That's why it's called Mind Duck. I can't swear on this podcast, so that's all I say.
You're so good. I really can't express to you how much better you are at being professional and rule-following than we are.
I vowed to not be too dirty on this because I say too much wild on my podcast, so I already said it.
Amazing stuff. And you do research and come prepared.
Clean.
It's amazing.
Like to be more nice on this show, so sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, we'll leave you there because I think everyone is very tired. Until next time, I guess be very careful where you put your cruciform because if you misplace it, you might find it coming back in ways you don't expect.
Okay.
I don't like that.
Well, until then, bye.
Take
Bye.
care, everybody.
I was listening to myself on the previous episode, how I missaid the fat line squirt. I was trying to make a joke. And I was trying to like wait until you finish. And it was like 5 minutes later. And I forgot. And I was like, I really shouldn't have waited that long.
No, just put your hand up, talk over me. Don't worry. We do that all the time.